Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States. And
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See, what I'm trying to do tonight is confuse the hell out of every single person. And I think I'm doing a damn good job of it. No, just kidding. So I intended on going early, one, because I'm by myself today. This was the weekend that everybody sold me out. Actually, Digger, if you're bored, if you're bored, no pressure, but just hanging out. So, what are we going to start with? So we're starting, of course, with the trial of Matheau Moore. We are on day 2 of the actual trial, week 4 for our purposes. Oh shit, you're busy. Never mind then. Forget about what I just said. So happy Canuck Thanksgiving. I didn't know it was Canuck Thanksgiving. I know if you want to be racist, it's Columbus Day. If you want to be inclusive, it's Indigenous Peoples Day. So it should be my day. So it should be. So I should have the day off. So take care, everybody. Catch you later. Have a good night. No, I'm just playing. So that's what we got going on right now. Yeah. So it should be fun. So we'll start with the Matheau Moore trial. There is a SpaceX launch. There's some weird stuff going on with that one. So as soon as we get into T0, we will attempt to cover that as well. That's why I was starting a minute early, so we may get on top of that when it was ready to go. So we'll see where we go. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. So let's say hello, and we'll get into it. Early start, is it now? Well, it was a late early start, so it was kind of in between, just to be confusing. Santa Monica Pier is temporarily closed and evacuations are underway after a man climbed onto a Ferris wheel claiming to have a boom boom stick. Damn. Hello. What's up, Jacob? Jacob, I need you to go type on Rumble, bud. Just type anything. Oh, there we go. You already did, and you figured it out. Congratulations, sir. Linda? Oh, shit. I got a mod train, Jacob Castro. We don't do anything unless they're spam links, and then you eat that motherfucker. So you get them every once in a while. Porn bots or spam links, just peace out. Other than that, don't do a damn thing. Columbus didn't find North America first. So, let's get right into this. So this is a Matheau Moore trial, and we will get started right now.
Sir, can you state your name, spell your last name for the record, please?
David Lechty, Leighty.
Okay. You'd agree with me, that sounds a little different than how you spell it?
It is.
Okay. I'll try my best to remember it. It's only taken me a couple years to figure it out, right? where are you currently employed?
I'm employed with the City of Westerville Division of Police.
And what do you do for the City of Westerville Division of Police?
I'm assigned to the investigation unit as a detective.
Okay. Do you have a job title?
Just general detective. I do other things as well.
Okay. And what types of job duties do you have as a general detective?
Investigate crimes. Other job duties include mobile forensics on phones.
Okay. And do you sort of specialize in mobile forensics with phones?
For the division, yes.
Ozzy, what's up, buddy? I was wondering where the heck everybody is, and then I realized it's Columbus Day, but is that a real holiday or one made up for the people who don't do anything? I think it's the latter. Well, Columbus Day is racist now, and a reason for postal workers to have the day off, because I took something to the post office to mail it out, and fucking thing was closed, so I have to do it in the morning.
Okay. And what's, I guess, let's take a step back first. What type of training or experience do you have to be a detective?
I attended the basic police officer academy, graduated from that. Then I also studied criminal justice at Youngstown State University. Still working on my degree right now, and I also have taken numerous classes over 21 plus years in law enforcement.
And that was going to be my next question, is other than being a detective, you have previous law enforcement experience?
I do.
And can you give me an idea of how long you've been in law enforcement and what positions you've held?
Roughly over 20 years. I started out as a reserve deputy with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department up in Worcester. Moved to a full-time position with the Doylestown Police Department. I left that position as a canine handler and a sergeant. And when I came to Westerville in 2007, I was a patrol officer. And in 2006, I moved over to the Detective Bureau.
Now, you mentioned that one of your specializations is computer cell phone forensics?
Cell phone forensics, yes.
Cell phone forensics?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give a general overview to the jury of what in the world that means?
I attended a training that's put on by Cellebrite. It's a company that has software and technology to perform forensic extractions on cell phones. My training was a week-long training that goes over how to extract the data and then also how to analyze the data and look at the data. That training I attended in March of 2019 in Indianapolis. And then I've taken several other classes in the area of digital forensics that have to do with social media as well as other cell phone stuff.
So how many classes roughly have you taken regarding cell phone forensics?
I would say between 6 and 10.
Okay. And how long have you been working on
that's better.
cell phone forensics in cases in your position right now?
Since March of 2019.
Okay. And do you only handle cell phone forensics for Westerville Police Department, or do you also get utilized with other police agencies?
I have done forensic extractions for other agencies as well, but primarily for Westerville cases, yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, well, I guess let me ask you this. Did you become involved in a case back on May 25th of 2020 involving the disappearance of Emily Noble?
I did.
And as part of your involvement, at least in part, were you asked to do cell phone forensics in that case?
I was.
And do you recall how many devices were you asked to perform a forensic analysis on?
The first one was initial device on the 26th of May on Emily's device, an iPhone 8 Plus.
Okay. Other than Emily's phone, were there other phones or devices you were asked to do analyses on?
There were several.
Okay. Namely, at least in part, 3 cell phones?
Yes.
1 belonging to Emily, 2 belonging to Mr. Moore?
Yes.
So let's talk a little general about cell phone forensics. You're given a cell phone from a detective. Is that normally how it starts?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Once the phone is given to you, or once you have the phone in your possession, what's your first step?
I want to make sure that the phone is in a secure mode and powered on, and also in airplane mode to preserve the data that's in the phone. If the phone isn't connected, if the phone's connected to a network, if you don't put it in airplane mode or remove a SIM card, and it's connected to a network, the owner of the phone could possibly remotely access that device and possibly remote wipe the device.
God, if
So, like,
anybody
putting
ever
it
got a
in
hold of my
airplane
cell phone.
mode, taking it off the network, what is the hope? Why are you doing that?
To preserve the data that's on the phone.
Okay.
They'd be very confused.
After you do that, what's your next step?
Next step is make sure that there's either a search warrant or consent form to perform an extraction on that device.
Okay. And assuming there's a search warrant and you have the permission from the owner to do so, how do you go about then extracting, or how do you go about your next step?
Sure. If it's an iPhone, what I will do is we use what's called UFED.
Can you spell that for me, please?
UFED. It's for PC. It's a program developed by Cellebrite, and I will plug the phone into that program, and The computer basically walks me through what steps I need to do next to perform a forensic extraction on that device. It'll tell me if the device is supported. Sometimes newer phones aren't up to date yet with the software, so sometimes it takes a little bit of time before that gets up to the newer phones. But it'll tell me what options I have to perform an extraction, what data I possibly can get from that phone. And it's basically just clicking the button and letting the computer do the work. It could take, half hour to 4 or 5, 6 hours to do a complete extraction from the phone. After that extraction is complete, I take the data that was copied from there and I place that into what's called Physical Analyzer. Physical Analyzer parses out that data and puts it into a nice program that makes it easier for us to read.
So when you're talking about the extraction process, does that put it in a form that now becomes searchable by either yourself or other detectives?
It does.
And what's the purpose of extracting that data and making that searchable as opposed to just searching it on the phone itself?
Can you repeat that again for me?
Sure. When you extract that data, that's the data, that extraction that you're then search going forward, correct?
Yes,
Or run reports on going forward?
absolutely, yes.
Why would you do it on that extraction as opposed to the physical phone itself?
If you would do it on the physical phone, then you're changing the integrity of the phone and you're adding more events and stuff to the phone. So you want to use the extraction, which was the preserved evidence that you had.
Is it fair to say it sort of takes a snapshot of the phone, what's on that phone in that moment,
Yes, it does.
and then allows you to search based on what was on the phone once it came into your possession and you put it in airplane mode?
Yes, sometimes detectives will ask me specifically to go through it because they're not comfortable with the physical analyzer and kind of tell me what type of case they're working on, and I may be able to search for them a lot easier. Sometimes detectives preferably like just to look through it themselves if they know the case better than I do. I'll just provide that data back to them to review.
Now, you've mentioned physical analyzer, and I think I sort of derailed us a couple minutes ago, but can you explain what physical analyzer is?
It's just a program, again, that makes it puts that data in, I want to say, human readable form. It allows us to understand it and puts in different type of applications that you can click on and open up, and it can show you anywhere from the chat messages to the pictures to the videos to call logs. It shows you all kinds of data and makes it easier to view.
And are there different types of phone extractions that can be done?
There are.
Oh, and what are those?
There's a logical file system and then a physical,
Okay. And why are there different types?
because there's different operating devices, such as an Apple is an iOS operating system, which is an iPhone operating system, and then there's Android,
Hey, what's up, Late Rain?
which is like your Samsung Galaxy or something like that. So there's different operating systems, and there's different types of, like the physical would go more towards the Android, where a logical and file system would be more towards an iOS device.
Okay, so in some respects, it might be dependent on the device itself.
Yes,
In some instances, are you able to run multiple types of extractions?
yes, you can.
Okay. And again, is that dependent on anything in particular?
It depends on the phone itself, what the device, what's supported on through Celebrite.
If anybody has a bootleg copy of UFED,
Again, when
hit
physical
me up.
analyzer is being run, is that being run on the device itself or the
could
extraction
use
that you
one.
had just testified about earlier?
Physical analyzer is running on the extraction itself, not the phone.
Okay, and again, why is it the protocol to run it on the extraction?
Then you're not changing the integrity of the device.
what's up, Bush One?
When you run a
Over on Twitch.
when you run an extraction, does that pull everything off the phone, or do you sometimes have to go into the phone and manually search for other items?
Sometimes it's hit or miss. It doesn't generally pull everything off the phone. Sometimes or I ask detectives to manually go through the phone. Sometimes you can go through a device and screenshot if it's allowed, if that phone's supported for screenshots or chats with different apps it has on the phone. But it all depends on the device, what's supported. Sometimes I ask detectives just to, if they don't, to thumb through it to see if they see anything else.
And you mentioned earlier, sometimes detectives ask you to search it yourself, maybe if you're involved in the case, or tell you about the case. Is that one aspect of things?
It is.
And in other cases, is it fair to say you're just asked to run the extraction and give it to another detective?
Yes.
Regarding the case that we're here for today involving the disappearance of Emily Noble, were you asked to take the 3 cell phones we mentioned earlier and run extractions on those?
I was.
Okay. And as part of that, were you able to successfully extract the data from the phone?
I was.
And those being, again, Emily Noble's phone and 2 phones belonging to Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Okay. No errors, no issues when you ran the extraction process?
Nothing that I saw.
Okay. And once you're able to run the extraction, were you able to pull that information up?
Yes,
Okay. And again, just review it to make sure there are no errors or issues.
that's correct.
Once you're able to run the extraction on those 3 devices, what then did you do with the extractions in this case?
I provided extractions to Detective Grubbs.
So pretty standard procedure, I would assume. But they want the extraction data so they can try and pin something there.
I'm sorry, may I approach?
I think they do way too
Second,
much
I'm
of
gonna
it.
have you
It's
look at,
too
what has been labeled
invasive.
Exhibit 13, 14, and 15.
People keep everything on their phones, and I think it's
Through those, I know there are multiple pages.
there should be a higher burden to access someone's phone. Personally. I argue it's an extension of our brain, so you should have to have the same to get into it.
Yes, sir.
And those 3 items, can you just identify what those items are that I've handed you?
Sure. The first one is an extraction report.
That's 13, sir.
Yes, sir. Number 13 is an extraction report that I completed for case number 2020-12540.
And let me stop you for a second. When we're talking about an extraction report, can you explain what an extraction report is?
Yeah, when you complete an extraction and move it to physical analyzer, then what I do is, after it's in physical analyzer, I generate a report for the investigator or myself. The report is, it can be a PDF report, Excel report, HTML report.
2 minutes on
Goes
full
over and
power
actually
should fry
generates,
everything. Yep.
For the investigator to look at. So they're not getting a physical analyzer, they're getting what's called a reader report. So they can't go in and change anything to that or anything, mark anything.
Should be getting
So they can't go in
put a
and change
kill
anything.
switch
Is
so
it
if any
a
program
more
touches it,
user-friendly
it
way
just
to review the
just
material that
melts
was
down.
taken off of the phone during the initial extraction?
Overheats and melts down. Not legal advice.
The other 2
Not
things that,
legal advice.
Can you identify what those are?
Yes, State Exhibits 14 and 15 are also extraction reports.
This channel doesn't give legal advice. If you want that, go over to Aussie Overload.
As a result of your dealings in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, as to publish States Exhibit 13, 14, 15 to the jury?
Any objection?
Detective, I know you just testified a little bit about this, but I want to make it clear what we're looking at here. So this is States Exhibit 13. I know you're familiar up there, so feel free to mark on the screen if it makes sense, but this initial box here, I'm sort of squaring off the top part. Can you give us a general idea of that area, the types of information provided in there?
Absolutely. It's a creation time of the report. It also provides Celebrite physical analyzer version at the top. And then I put it as an examiner. I examine the device. I did the extraction on the device, and I provide it to whoever the investigator is. I'll put their name in there and then the report number as well.
And as we work down to this second box that I'm drawing on the screen now, what type of information is usually contained on that part of the report?
It shows the extraction start time and end time. What it also shows is what the phone was there. It's an iPhone 8 Plus, and that's the model number there listed. And it shows what type of extraction type was taken. Here it shows a file system extraction.
Hey, what's up, man, bud?
And looking at the bottom, I'm going to flip the page, but there's an item there labeled device information. Is that fair?
Yes.
I know there's a lot of information here on page 2. I'll zoom out a little bit. Can you just give us a general flavor of what we're looking at here on page 2?
Absolutely. Here it's just going to be, right here's, it's an iPhone, so here is the Apple ID account or email associated with the account. What I'm always looking for is this number right here, the IMEI number. How I compare that is a VIN number to a car. Every car has a specific VIN number, so each phone has a specific number that's its VIN number, we would say.
How would one go up
IMEI,
about setting a kill switch or running a big magnetic cable around
So that's specific to the device. And then,
door so walking anything out of the
NSISDN
room
number is
white
the phone number
clean?
that's on that
I know
device.
it's probably
Here, tell
possible.
us a little bit about it as
That's
being
above my
like
pay
A+.
grade. Cheese would know.
So this little square here,
Jeez, would know.
MSISDN, you said that's the phone number that's associated to the phone?
Yes.
But knowing you, your
Same
dog
course
would get your
outlines.
phone dazzard
Just needs to go
and
down, just get
you'd be
general
totally
information about the
fucked.
phone.
It does.
You'd get it and run
Now
outside.
to what's page 4 of 6. Now we're on this section called contents above. Help if I could draw a better circle. Contents, that's even worse.
I can see it.
There we go. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What types of information are we looking at here for contents generally?
Here we're just showing, what I look for is what was deleted there, deleted items. Also, it's telling cell towers if it's, that data's turned on, they can see where it hit on cells. I'm also looking at chats or messages. This is iPhone. I could have iMessengers.
Doesn't
that
have
go
an
through.
inserter and smelter
Calendar,
designed
if
as
they
a
keep
coffee
calendar
table.
on
You
there,
can import
have specific
it's an
dates or
electronics.
anything,
Not going to make it.
Say they have a
That's
birthday
good.
for
You
someone or
shouldn't
something
make it
like that.
because that would be
Would you
unfair.
agree with me that this is sort of the meat of the report?
Well, it is. Go ahead with your next question.
That's what I said, Deez. How did they get you fed, and how can I get one?
Detective, the items on the left, in this sort of left column, what types of things, if anything, can you do with those items, those columns?
Those columns, you can it breaks it down of what's on that report. And if you look down and say Facebook Messenger, 153 items on that report, or Instagram, 40 items included in that report. Twitter, Snapchat, whatever that phone, whatever the extraction has pulled, it generates on this report.
Now, just as an example, we'll say chats recovered 1745, for example. Does this just give me a number, or is there a way to then look through those chats themselves?
You can actually look through those chats. When you pull up Celebrate the Reader portion of it, it opens up to a nice homepage, and you can just click on that tab, and you can open up and sort chats.
And is that something that reader, something that you provide, whatever detective asks you for, to do those searches?
I do.
And did you do that in this case?
I did.
And who did you provide that information to?
Detective Grubbs.
Once you're able to provide him with the extraction and that reader, what does that allow, in your experience, what does that allow Detective Grubbs to do?
It allows him to look through the device report. He can sort data. He can review different types of data just by that homepage on what areas he's looking into.
This is still State's Exhibit 13, page 2. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but I'm directing you to this line right here. Can you identify again what the MSISDN is?
That is the phone number that's assigned with that device. That's generally pulled off a SIM card. Sometimes they'll have a couple MSISDN numbers that were past numbers on that device, but this lists the one there.
Okay, and I believe that says, does that say last used?
It does say last used.
Have you look at State's Exhibit 14. Can you identify again what State Exhibit 14 is?
That again is a extraction report that was provided through Celebrate.
2K for UFED seems to be the going
It'd
rate.
be a device, the report number would be here at the top. I did the extraction, provided for that investigator, and it has my extraction start date and end date there.
And was there a specific device that was identified or that was extracted from?
Yes, it was a Samsung device right there, and it shows what type of extraction was completed in Advanced Logical.
This report is 7 pages in total. I'm going to flip to page 5 of 7. And looking at this page, again, what types of information is located here in the middle of the page?
It's showing me again the MSISDN or phone number attached to that,
That's what I'm saying,
providing you
Deez.
the
I don't need a new
the
one.
make of the device as well.
Can you read what's the MSISDN number on this extraction?
It is 702
I just want to do it as a
884.
hobbyist.
1010.
Now, putting back up State's Exhibit 13, page 2. Can you read
Would
the
help with stalking.
MSISDN
I mean-
number that was identified on that extraction?
Yes, it's 1-702-884-1010.
State's Exhibit 14. I know we just walked through the extraction on State's Exhibit 13, but is it similar? Did you run it the same way or a different way than how you ran the phone in State's Exhibit 13?
Similar way.
Okay. And would the report read in a similar way with that same information that you just identified in State's Exhibit 13?
Yes.
Showing you now it's been labeled State's Exhibit 15. Can you identify what we're looking at in State's Exhibit 15?
Again, it's I ran an extraction provided to Detective Grubbs. Here's our case number. Here's the start time, end time of extraction. It was an iPhone 8 Plus. That's the model number. And it was a file system extraction that was completed.
Again, is the report itself...
I ate a thing like 15
presented in
minutes ago, and now
substantially
I'm
similar way as
feeling
the other two we
funny.
talked about?
It is.
Well, then you know it's working, Bobby.
And flipping to page 3 of 9. From looking at page 3 of 9, you're able to identify a telephone number that's associated with the cell phone that was extracted in this exhibit.
Right there is the cell phone number, 1-614-562-8814.
Hey, what's up, AP?
And you mentioned earlier Apple ID. Is there an Apple ID identified on this page of the document that you were able to extract from the phone?
It is. Here's the Apple ID that's associated with it, and also here's the IMEI number. Oop, I crossed it off. That is associated with that device. Sorry about that.
Here, I'll have you do that one more time, please.
Let me get up there higher. There's that IMEI number, like I'm explaining, it's similar to a VIN number. And here is the Apple ID.
And what's the Apple ID associated with this phone?
It looks like enoble265@yahoo.com.
State's Exhibit 13, 14, 15, do they appear to be true, accurate copies of the extraction reports you did in this case?
Yes, sir.
Again, after you completed the extractions, put the reports together, who did you provide those to?
Detective Grubbs.
So they're just proving it's his
Other
device.
than the
No,
cell phone
it's his wife's
extractions of these three
device.
devices,
Light Rain.
Were you involved with any other cell phone related activities?
We haven't got to anything they found
Yes,
on it.
the-
They're
I
just
did
going through the
extractions on
process.
persons, the ladies that,
Probably trying to qualify him as an expert.
Okay, the three individuals that located Emily Noble?
yes.
Other than doing the cell phone forensics, were you involved in conducting any search warrants on any residences?
I was.
And what can you tell me about that?
Did a search warrant on Matt Moore's residence
Okay, do you remember when that search warrant occurred?
on the 27th of May.
Okay. And when a search warrant is conducted, what are, when you walk into the home, what are the first things that you do in preparation of the search warrant?
Just make sure the scene's secure and there's no one inside the house. So when we're processing the scene, nobody can get hurt.
And what types of things do you do to process the scene or process an area that you're searching?
First, we take overall photographs of the scene.
And generally speaking, when you are taking photographs of
Anticlosed.
the residence, how do you handle that?
We make sure everyone's out and we try to let the photographer get in there and take all their photographs.
Detective, I'm going to have you look at what's been labeled State's Exhibit 16 through 62. Can you take a moment to flip through those?
think he's just verifying that that's all there.
Yes, sir.
States Exhibit 16 through 62, what do those purport to be?
I'm sorry, sir, what was that?
What do those exhibits I've handed you, what do they purport to be?
They look like photographs of the residence, Moore Noble's residence.
Okay. And you were involved in that process, correct?
I was.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, those pictures appear to be true and accurate based on the pictures taken from the scene that day?
They do.
At this point, we ask to publish States Exhibits 16 through 62 to the jury.
Please proceed.
Detective, you've talked generally about search warrant taking photos of the scene. I want you to walk the jury through some of the pictures that were taken that day, okay?
Okay.
First, what's been labeled States Exhibit 16. Can you identify what we're looking at here?
We're looking at the entry door on the west side of the living room.
And when you enter a room in the residence, what are you trying to do when you're taking pictures of that area?
You're just trying to get an overall of the area at first, unless you're seeing evidence that then you'll focus in and move in on that evidence to take photographs of.
Do you walk into a room and take one picture, or how does that process work?
You take several photographs of the whole so you can get a different perspective from every angle of the room that you're at. And then once the room's done and
Bobby, there's no
then start
catch-up
processing.
corner in this one.
States Exhibit 17. What are we looking at? States Exhibit 17.
It's a different angle. Now looks like Detective French was taking the photographs.
That's up genitals.
Area, and now he's shooting a shot out into the living room, and you can see the master bedroom door on the right.
I was
there.
both early and
You
late.
can draw on the screen if that makes it easier too.
Trying to confuse
show you,
people.
what's this B that's labeled on the floor there in the middle of the room?
We put down placards that label each room to identify each room.
States Exhibit 18, same question.
Yes, sir. Again, it's a different angle of the camera where he took a photo, and here's master bedroom, and you can see a partial of the kitchen area here.
States Exhibit 19.
That's another shot of the living room area. This time the camera's pointing more south. And here is a enclosed porch area, I would say. Master bedroom would be here, and then the entry door would be over in this area.
States Exhibit 20, same question.
Yes, sir. It's just another angle of that living room area where you're seeing a partial to, I think I would call it the guest bedroom right here on this side.
Similar picture, but States Exhibit 21.
Again, a different angle of the overalls, and now you can see living room, guest bedroom door, and I would call it a guest bathroom, I would say.
States Exhibit 22.
Now you're seeing again the guest bathroom, and then we're moving more towards the kitchen area. Here's a dining area with a bookshelf.
States Exhibit 23.
You have the kitchen area, and then you're leading out into the laundry, which would also lead into the garage.
States Exhibit 24.
Another photograph of
Literally
the kitchen
nothing
area.
in any of these
The
photos.
kitchen area, and then laundry area, again leading to the garage, a different angle.
It's highly
States Exhibit
inconsistent
25.
with other ones that
A
we've seen
different,
recently.
photograph of the kitchen area, looks like more of a facing south.
States Exhibit 26.
Photograph facing east through the laundry room into the garage, which is marked G out there. Laundry room marked F.
So again, the placards that we noted on an earlier picture.
That's correct.
States Exhibit 27. Similar picture to the previous exhibit, is that fair?
Similar, yes.
States Exhibit 28. What are we looking at? States Exhibit 28.
Yes, sir. Your back's towards, looks like the laundry room area, and the photography is, the camera's pointing towards the kitchen area and the dining room area, and then you can see the guest bedroom and living room over here.
State's Exhibit 29.
Appears to be the guest bathroom, placard D.
State's Exhibit 30.
Manger
It's room
acquire.
E, and it looks like it's maybe a guest room or just a room to hang out in, I guess.
State's Exhibit 31.
Again, it's room E, a different angle. You can see the desk area in there and has a chair, a couple chairs.
All right, I'll check it out. Easy.
State's Exhibit 32. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 32?
It would have been the prior room as well, just a different angle of that, looking at a sofa. And then you can see the bathroom off the guest room there.
Is that the same bathroom that you notated in an earlier picture?
Yes, guest bathroom, I would say.
State's Exhibit 33.
That'd be the same room as noted before, just a different view. Now you're facing north into, it looks like a closet area.
State's Exhibit 34.
Now we're back in the living room area. Looks like he is now done with that area, and we have a photo of a fireplace and some shelves. It looks like there's a handy
There's just nothing
magazine
even
and
remotely out of place.
purse or something there, flowers. on
Magnet
that,
acquire.
Shelving.
Okay.
And just sort of tying pictures together, does this appear to be the TV in the main living area?
It does appear to be the same, yes.
State's Exhibit 35.
That is the master bedroom area.
Hey, Sash, get in here.
State's Exhibit 36.
Again, master bedroom area, different angle, and you have placard C for master bedroom in there.
State's Exhibit 37.
That would be the walk-in closet in the master bedroom, as you guys are looking north.
State's Exhibit 38.
That would be the master bedroom bathroom.
State's Exhibit 39.
Looks like it's a photograph of an angle from the bathroom of the master bedroom shooting out into the master bedroom, the bed area, and then that big window.
State's Exhibit 40.
Again, it's a different angle of a photograph that was taken.
Is that a
About the
pistol on a
bathroom area
small
shooting
shelf
into- shooting
facing away
southward
from
into
us?
the bedroom.
It could be. I think they recovered a couple firearms.
State's Exhibit
Supposedly.
41.
Photograph of the master bedroom area shooting west into the apartment area.
Looks like there's a door over here on the right side of the picture. Where, to the best of your recollection, does that door lead?
That
Whose
leads to
house
the,
is this and why are we
the living
looking
room
at
would
it?
be right over in this one. Would be on the
This
other
is
side of this wall,
Matthew
and to the right of that would be the
and,
kitchen area, and then straight on you can see
his
the
late
entrance,
wife's,
I believe it's the
and
bathroom.
they're looking for some evidence that Matthew
Show you
killed
State's
his wife.
Exhibit 42. Is that a better picture of the
But
picture? Just
I
because-
haven't seen a
Yes, sir,
single
yes.
thing yet.
State's Exhibit 43.
That is the master bedroom area. It looks like a nightstand to the right of the bed.
So this area, sort of on the left side of the screen, that's looking at the bed on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side?
If you're at the foot of the bed and facing it, it'd be to your
Single
right
thing
side.
even remotely that could be construed as some kind of evidence.
Now, State's Exhibit 44.
This photograph would be if you're standing at the foot of the bed and you're looking at the left side of the bed.
State's Exhibit 45.
That's the enclosed porch.
State's Exhibit 46.
Another angle of the inside of the enclosed porch.
State's Exhibit 47.
If she
That's another
decorated this
angle of the
place, she
inside
was
of the
asking
porch
for it.
Facing west.
And State's Exhibit 48.
That'd be the inside of the porch, and those are the sliding doors that would take you into the living room area.
Moving on to State's Exhibit 49. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 49?
Photographs of the garage. You have the Subaru here and looks like a Nissan here.
State's Exhibit 50.
That's another photograph of the garage. You're facing east in the garage here.
Ever since I
close
saw
to
one
the door that
crazy
would take you into
dude
the
do it,
laundry
I wanted to pull all my pictures really high up on the wall, all in the corners. Huh.
State's Exhibit 51.
You're outside the garage shooting in.
Oh shit, these.
Moving on to State's Exhibit 52.
Again, you're outside down on the driveway shooting into the garage area, and then you can see this would be the master bedroom area.
State's Exhibit 53.
That is the enclosed porch area.
And are you able to see the front door, sort of where these pictures first started?
The side door here.
Okay. And just so we understand, where would the garage be?
Intentionally placing things slightly off center.
Screen and porch there.
It's over here on the other side of these bushes.
I'm way too ADD for that. That would drive me insane.
Looking at State's Exhibit 54.
Looks like a missing persons flyer that was located in the residence.
Now, other than taking photos of the rooms and sort of spinning in circles to get different angles, what other types of things are you taking pictures of when you're processing a scene?
We take pictures of documents, handwritings, evidence, anything like that.
State's Exhibit 55.
Looks like a handwritten note. It's dated here 10/27/19. Would you like me to go down through it, or is that?
No, that's fine. Thank you. State's Exhibit 56.
Looks like page 2 of another handwritten note.
State's Exhibit 57.
Those appear to be receipts from Jimmy V's. Looks like dated 5/24/2020, and maybe 1/5/24. I can't read. Looks maybe a 20.
State's Exhibit 58 is not a picture taken from the scene. Is that a fair assessment?
That's fair to say, yes.
Okay. Generally speaking, what are we looking here on page 58?
We're looking at crime scene. Detectives
that's
or
not a
officers
picture
who
of their
came to the
house?
scene and entered the crime scene area.
Could have fooled
Is
me.
that something that's typically done when a search warrant is conducted?
Yes,
And what is the purpose of that?
to keep integrity of the scene, to see who's in and out and what their function was.
State's Exhibit 59.
Now look at
It's
the
a scene
fireplace.
sketch.
There's
It's
two
just a basic
shelves,
drawing of the inside
and on
of the
top of the
house,
shelf,
where we put
there's
the
a
placard,
Glock
so
facing
the
away and a
investigator
mag
knows
to the
what
left.
room is what, and
Only
if there's
mention
any
it
evidence
because it was an
taken, we would put-
interesting item.
Maybe it was taken from room A, and we list room A, and then that investigator will know what room A was, being the kitchen.
So the letters that we're seeing here, E, B, A, those would match the placards that we've seen during the photos that we just walked through.
Yes.
State's Exhibit 60.
That would be from G, which was the garage, I believe. There you have 2 pairs of shoes.
State's Exhibit 61.
It's just looks like here's the shoes, just taken back from a further back angle.
Well, it's normal to me.
State's Exhibit 62.
That is another photograph of the garage area, and this is where you would enter to go into the laundry area and then the kitchen into the residence.
Well, that was a lot of pictures to go through, but is the hope to get pictures of the residence in various angles in the manner in which you walked into it?
Yes.
The photos we just walked through, again, do they appear to be true and accurate based on your recollection walking through during the search warrant and photos being taken?
They do.
Okay, just one moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
I have no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Your Honor, I need a few minutes, if I could. Thank you.
Oh no, Bobby.
Sorry, Detective, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm okay, thank you. Don't even ask you. I'm a bit confused because these aren't all the photos that were taken of the residence. Is that correct?
There was other photos, yes.
So I'm trying to find those photos so that we can go through all the photos together. So I'm a little unprepared. But well.
It's in book one.
Showing you what's been marked. I'll start with the photos as State's Exhibit 17. I just want to make sure the jury understands that the placards on the floor do not indicate any items of evidence there. Those are just marking the room.
Yes, ma'am.
So someone can say, in location B, this was found, and we would know where location B is.
Yes, ma'am.
And every room, including the laundry room, had a different location, did it not?
I believe so.
Fair to say that the execution of the warrant, when it was executed at 46 Abbey Cross, the scene was cleared
Yes.
and secured so that, as you said, the photographer and the officers, law enforcement can come in and the area wouldn't be disturbed.
That's correct.
It was a surprise. It's not like you let Mr. Moore know that you were coming, right?
That I can't answer.
So just want to go through, showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 23. I will find some closer up photos, but now, for now, Detective, if we could, do you see all of those pink cans right there?
I do.
And you were in the residence, obviously. Fair to say that those are Rheingeist Bubbles cans?
I am not a drinker, so I can't answer that question.
Okay. Those were all just on the cabinet then, or countertop?
Yeah, there are some cans on the counter. I can't tell what they are by the photograph, though.
And you remember, or do you remember those cans were empty?
I don't recall.
Just want to showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 25. The light comes across horribly. Just so we can zoom in, those are. Do you see a vodka bottle in that picture?
Oh no, Johnny Depp all over again. Vodka bottle.
There's like 2 bottles of soap. Have you ever seen that Mr. Castle soap?
Is there any way you can circle that for me? Because
Sure.
I don't know
I'm
where
sorry.
you're looking at.
Right here.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that brand?
I am not.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
That's okay. Are you familiar with this? Looks like sparkling water bottles.
I'm not.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just go through things that you're always, as you're preserving a scene and you're thinking of things that might have potential evidentiary value, are you not, as you go through a house like this?
You are?
And this is a rug right here,
Yes.
pictured in State's Exhibit 26.
I'm not exactly sure what exhibit it was in, but
I'm showing you
I've
what's
never
been
seen
marked
soap.
as
No,
State's
never.
Thank you. And that rug, also depicted in State's Exhibit 27, that I'm showing the witness, Your Honor, is in what we call the laundry room,
yes,
right in front of the washer and dryer, correct?
that is correct.
Showing you what's been marked as 28, and let me know if I need to come in and show you any closer. Tell the jurors if you see an ashtray on that counter at all. I'm happy to approach if you want to look at it. Sure.
Please.
If I may approach with State's Exhibit 28,
Yes.
and I'll probably do this, just ask you to look at every table or countertop
Thank you.
for an ashtray.
I don't see one on here.
Thank you. Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 29. You identified this as the guest bathroom. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, there's a rug there.
There is.
And like the rug in the laundry room, it's white, is it not?
Appears to be the same color, yes.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 30. Depicted on the couch there is a pillow.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? And then I want to, showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 31. This right here is a sheet, is it not? A bed sheet, the white item?
It appears to be a sheet, yes.
I have another viewpoint of it that I can get in just a second. And then State's Exhibit 32, let me clear this, so I can zoom in with you. This right over here appears to be some bedding as well, does it not?
It does look like bedding, yes.
And I want to zoom in a little further.
How the fuck did you get a free trial?
You see
I'm
these shoes
trying
right down here?
DZ,
Yes, ma'am.
and I can't get it. Or free software on that magnet one.
Those, were those collected in evidence?
I'd have to look at the evidence sheet to see what was collected.
Okay, and this is State's Exhibit 32. Showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit. I think we're on H, am I right? Those shoes that I just showed you in 32, State's Exhibit 32, those are right by the couch, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they appeared to be tied. I know that they weren't collected in evidence, but do you remember seeing them?
I don't.
I want to show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit H. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, ma'am.
This is one of the photos that was taken at the scene,
Yes, ma'am.
but was not in the stack that you were identified on direct.
I believe it was.
It was?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. So let me,
I know,
wanted
white
to zoom
rugs
in
are
for a
no-no.
purpose here.
Always.
Based on remembering at the scene, do you remember those shoes being there in the garage?
I don't.
Do you see, let me clear it though. This right here and how these shoes are tied, do you see that?
I can.
And we know from the placard that these were in what location?
A G, which is the garage.
Here we go, State's Exhibit 33 is a better view, is it not, of that, the sheet on that chair?
Can you zoom it? Thank you.
Yes,
It appears to be a sheet, I believe, yes.
that's State's Exhibit 33 for the record. Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 37. Let me zoom out.
I didn't have
Do you
your
see,
question.
and it's hard to see what it is, but I'm just directing your attention to the general area. There appears to be a black item right there on the shelf. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh shit. Alright, I'll try
Showing you
oxygen.
what's been marked as State's Exhibit 38. That is the, should we, if I called it the master bathroom, does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
This is, we're looking at here, the master bath, are we not?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a walk-in shower. Yes,
And this right here is another white rug
it is.
and a white towel
Yes, ma'am.
and a white towel here.
It appears to be, yes.
Yes. And I say this because of your experience and expertise. You understand that fibers and trace and hair, those can often be found on materials like rugs or towels or sheets.
Absolutely, yes.
And by trace evidence, I want to just see here in the bedroom, if we could, and let me know if you want me to come up with a picture. But do you see an ashtray on that that nightstand there or that dresser?
Well, I see something on the left that looks like a big rock, and I don't know if that's an ashtray or not.
Let me zoom in on it. When you said the big rock, 'cause these will obviously, you mean this right here?
Yes, I don't know what that is.
And then I want to ask you about the, showing you State's Exhibit 43. An ashtray there,
I don't know if that's an ashtray or not. It's hard to tell. I can see what you're, if you're talking about this.
Nope. May I approach with State's Exhibit 43? Let me see if you see an ashtray or any cigarettes anywhere.
That just looks like some rocks to me in a circle. Or,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
And showing you 46 or 47, if I may approach, Your Honor. This table just next to the chair on the attic, as best as those photos are, do you see any cigarettes or ashtrays?
I don't believe so in these photos, no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
True.
Oh, one moment, Your Honor. It's just a lot of photos. Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 55, and I'll get to 56. It says Matt's goals. Do you see that? 10/27/19.
I do.
No more Valium. Sleep through the night. Do you see how things are listed and then
I
have
think
a
that
check
was
mark
their-
by them? Some of them.
Their question. I don't know.
See? Guitar, smoothies, cook, help clean the place.
All right, good.
Those are all checked, are they not?
Because I did too.
Yes.
And there's a no alcohol until Emily gets home, and that's 5 p.m., and that's checked.
Yes,
Positive thoughts, meditate, not checked.
that's correct.
It says what is checked is also grieve. Deep breaths.
Yes, ma'am.
And remember Emily, and so many people love Matt with a heart. You see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you cards, no rush. Try the gym. That's not checked either, is it?
It's not.
And then page 2 of that same notebook is marked as State's Exhibit 56. And the list goes on, is draw, call important people about new phone, have positive experiences, movies, golf, talk to friends. Do you see that?
I do.
Those are checked.
Yes.
Get Emily a new phone, heart, 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 that's checked.
Yes.
Lose weight, well, that was checked by someone. It appears, is it not?
Well, it was loose weight. Now it's lose weight.
It's,
Yes.
yes,
That's correct.
It was fixed.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Deposit checks, toast with rainwater, and I missed one, made progress on mom's estate, mailed letters. Do you see that?
I do.
And then showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 57. These receipts that were found at the house, do you see there the dates on those receipts?
I do.
And what are the dates?
On the one on the right, it's 5/24 and it's got a 0 at the end. I want to say it's 2020, but that's what I can see on the screen. The other one is 5/24/2020.
And you would agree with me, it almost looks like they're the same receipt, just 2 copies of it.
Yes, it's, guest copy and then whatever the other receipt is, however they print out.
On State's Exhibit 58. This is essentially this is the log that you testified into direct, where you make note of any person that comes into the area so that you have a record of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to note here that the canine dog, Danielle Fate, is noted as time entering as 6:30. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, once the individual leaves the house, they must note their exit time as well. Is that right?
Burn documents called
And
it.
so the canine dog with Danielle Fate leaves the house at 7:02 p.m. according to the log.
That's correct.
And I trust as an officer in the importance of this exercise is that keeping, signing in and signing out is important.
Yes, ma'am.
So the math on that is the dog is in the house from 6:30 to 7:02 p.m.
Yes. I wouldn't say not necessarily in the house, but within on the property.
Is on,
Within, that's past into the driveway area and into my crime scene area, yes.
okay, so good distinction. You had the crime scene tape up.
It wasn't, but I was outside for scene security, making sure no one else entered that area, entered the residence at all.
So fair to say that that would have included that driveway up to the garage?
Yes.
The garage itself?
Yes, ma'am.
The 800 or 900 square feet of living space, right?
Yes.
And it's within that area, that general crime scene where that dog is from 6:30 to 7:02?
Yes.
I'm on Defense Exhibit HI, I believe. I'm on I. Yes, thank you. Is that right? Yeah. There was a photo in the stack of a sliding door on the attic with a sticky note. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Okay. Showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit I. Now that I show you that picture, does that look familiar to you?
It does. I don't think it's on the attic, though. It's on the porch. screened-in porch.
You're right, I'm thinking of, you're right, it's on the screened-in porch.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a slider door, was there not?
There was.
And there was a sticky note on it.
That's correct.
And was this sticky note in the original stack of photos you were shown?
It was not.
Oh, and so I just want to zoom in here. Do you recognize this photo?
I do.
Fair and accurate of one of the photos that was taken at the scene?
It is.
And the note says, "I went out looking for her on my bike. I'll be back 9, stick around." Do you see that?
Yes.
I want to show you a series of photos, if I could, of the Ultima, because there was a number of photographs taken of the Ultima. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And I'll just mark the series, if you don't mind.
The dog took the ashtray? No.
I'll mark this as J1, showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit J1. Do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is it?
It's a Nissan that was parked in the driveway.
Lies and
Showing you
slander.
J2, Defense Exhibits. Does that appear to be the trunk of the same car?
Yes, ma'am.
The interior of that car was photographed, was it not?
It was.
Showing you what's been marked as J3. And the lighting's so bad, but if does it look? Do you remember that this right here is this folds down? Does that look familiar to you?
Yes, that's the rear seat, and then to the left, you're looking into the, I believe, the trunk area?
And so this right here is kind of, if it wasn't folded down, the seats would meet up together.
Yes.
And there appears to be like some sort of debris, if you will, right, in the car.
I would agree.
Okay, and this is a toolbox in the trunk,
Yes, ma'am.
and a spare license plate, it appears.
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what's been marked as J4, Defense Exhibit. This is the front of the Ultima. Would you agree with me on that?
I would agree, yes.
And showing you what's been marked as J5. This is the interior trunk of the Ultima. Would you agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
And here's obviously golf clubs here.
Yes.
There's like a pair of golf shoes over there. Do you see that?
I can see the end of them, yes.
Okay. And there's that toolbox to orient the jurors right up there that we saw from the other angle.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So they're golfers. That makes them good people.
J6, interior of the Ultima.
No, that's...
Oh, I'm sorry, we moved on to the Subaru.
Yes.
Interior of the Subaru.
Yes, ma'am.
J7, other shot of the interior of the Subaru.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree with me, this is like there's almost a pad on the seat which a driver would sit on?
It looks like a pillow, couch pillow or something.
J8 is the passenger seats of the Subaru. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
J9 is the rear of the Subaru, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then at some point, was there a picture taken of the interior contents of the Subaru?
I have some in case I ever want to go to Ohio,
This is the
because
trunk
if you have
area.
Michigan
Showing the
plates,
way
you'll
this was marked
automatically
as
get pulled over.
J10. Contents of the Subaru, there's some bags here. Obviously, this sort of looks like some kind of book or a box, and there's some miscellaneous items in the box, or in the back.
Yes, ma'am.
And this right here, it's one of those kind of collapsible covers that you can extend on a trunk. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Where when the lid is down and this is pulled, you can't see into the trunk.
Yes.
All of those pictures that I just showed you, those were taken by your department?
They were.
Fair and accurate copies of what you saw that day?
Yes.
Since I labeled all the car photos J, I'll do Defense Exhibit K.
None of this matters at all. They haven't they haven't put anything even reasonably
Just to orient
remotely
you, it's a closer photograph.
worth
showing
a
you what's
murder
been marked as
charge.
Defense Exhibit K.
They
Those
haven't put
appear to be the
anything worth a
same,
damn parking
tennis shoes
ticket
that were
yet.
in the photo that you had seen previously.
Yes, they do.
And
This
just
is
to
what we
orient the
call
photo, there's a yellow book
miscarriage of
next to those.
justice.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving away from photos.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience with us.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought I heard you, but I want to make sure I understand. I know there was 3 women that were searching the area and found Emily's remains. Did I hear your testimony right that you did extraction reports of their cell phones
I did extractions of their devices, yes.
for each of their devices?
Yes.
And you would have given those extractions to Detective Grubbs?
Yes.
And when did you do those extractions?
I believe the night that Emily was located.
And were there pictures on those phones of the remains?
I believe so.
And so they would have been the very first people to see the remains as the people that found them.
I can't answer that question.
Okay. But you were asked to do extractions of 3 phones.
That's correct.
License plates are unconstitutional. Changing my mind. Kind of.
With respect to cell phones,
You guys voted for it.
the initial extractions you talked about.
Why aren't you
in
special?
State's Exhibit 14, 15, and 16. Those are of 3 separate phones, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
2 iPhones and an Android, does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Just want to make sure. Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 14.
Confirmed. AP sucks Ohio dick. Because he didn't get pulled over in
The
Ohio.
extraction start time on 14 is June 22nd of 2021. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's what the report shows. That's source extraction. Can you go to the top for me?
I absolutely can. I can also approach if you ever need me to.
No. Yes, that's what it shows.
Okay. And then it shows that the report is created on 1/19/22.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is State's Exhibit 14. I want to show you State's Exhibit 15.
Because I'm good at that, Bobby. I'm really good
You
at
see the
it.
extraction date and time for 15.
I do.
And that is 6/10 of 2020. Do you see that?
I do.
And the report created is 1/24 of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, I'm sorry, I went in, I should have started with 13. I didn't do that intentionally.
That's okay.
State's Exhibit 13. Extraction date there is June 5th of 2020. And then the report is 1/25 of 22.
Yes.
So it looks as if State's Exhibit 13, which is currently being displayed in a very fuzzy way, is the first extraction. The second extraction is State's Exhibit 15 on 6/10 of 20. Do you see that?
I do.
And then the third extraction is State's Exhibit 14, which is June 22nd of 2021.
Exactly.
That's for
See
3
that?
devices, yes.
They'll turn it on you and make you seem like
Couple
it's
questions I have here.
it's all you.
The iPhone that you talked about with respect to the Apple ID. Just 1 second. Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 15. You indicated for the jurors that the Apple ID on this phone is eNoble 265.
Yeah, that's the first Apple ID listed. I see on the report must be a backup. I can't answer technically how that responds, but looks like there's a second Apple ID on there as well.
And that's why I asked this. There's actually a second Apple ID, and can you read that for the jurors?
It says, looks like me first please 303 at yahoo.com.
Thank you. And that's State's Exhibit 15. Fair to say that
Holy shit,
there are
two
times
tickets
when
for
you
3
get
over
cell
each way.
phones
That's
and,
not surprising.
you cannot
God, I hate
even access
Ohio.
the phone because they're password protected.
That's correct.
And in this instance, you had the passcodes for for Emily, for each of the phones, did you not?
That's correct.
And those passwords, if you know, were provided to law enforcement by Matheau Moore.
I believe so, yes.
It's not as bad once you get down to like Cincinnati, but that northern part of Ohio, they
There was a
Asses.
subject workup that you did in this case. Do you remember that?
That I had done?
That you requested be done?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think you put in that request on late May or early June. Let me know if you need me to approach. But fair to say that it indicates that the subject workup was completed and forwarded on June 4th of 2020.
I'd have to see exact dates to...
If I may approach, would it help to refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am, it would.
If I may approach? Just to refresh.
yeah, Bobby, 3 over is not uncommon here at all in Ohio to get a ticket.
And tell me if it doesn't look familiar. I just see your name on it, which is
Yeah, I see my name on it. It doesn't look familiar to me. I don't recall this.
okay. But am I wrong that your name's on that?
My name's on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's why I was going to ask you questions about it because your name was on it.
Yes, I've never seen... I don't remember this document.
Okay. All right. And I think it's your first and last name, is it not?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
One moment, Your Honor, while I go over my notes. Nothing further. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, the same asshole
You're right.
cop even? Damn. Yeah, turnpikes are double the fine. They're ridiculous. I try so hard not to take the turnpike, if ever at all possible. Anywhere in Ohio.
Detective, just very briefly, when we're looking at these, this is State's Exhibit 13. You were asked questions just about the extraction start date time as well as the report create date time or creation time.
That's correct.
Okay. If a report is run from the extraction that you originally took, would that signify the report create time?
No, that could be done from the reader.
Okay. If you were asked by
From the who, what?
counsel, either for the state or for the defense, to rerun a report, would there be a report with a different creation time up there?
Yes.
Okay. Were you asked to do that in this case?
Yes.
No further questions. Thank you.
As those areas recross.
1 second, Your Honor. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any questions from anyone here? All right, we'll collect your questions.
Corey?
So I forget this every time, so I'll explain it again. So the jury gets to ask questions. Hard not to do when driving to Cedar Point fastest time. Yeah. Vote in the country, only have sheriffs never get pulled over. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think when the last time I ever got pulled over in Michigan, and it's been a really long time. Really long time. but Ohio hates Michigan as much as Michigan hates Ohio. So, did you find anything that was worth taking a pic of, or just aim and shoot? It was definitely just aim and shoot, but I get the sentiment, buddy. This has been complete. They haven't had shit the entire time. They've had nothing. And as soon as they start trying to fast forward it, it's gonna fuck it all up. So we'll just wait. South Texas was beautiful because there was no speed limit. Nobody gave a shit. I was doing like 95 and people were flying by me. I was like, oh shit. Maybe maybe I should speed up a little bit, I went to meet up one of the big truck stops off Turnpike. I was driving fast enough to be arrested. Never saw a cop the entire day. That's usually how it goes. That was me slowing down traffic. It was the first time I'd been in Texas, so.
I did.
And do you recall if you smelled cigarette smoke while you were there?
I don't recall.
Okay. I have several questions, and I'll probably have to go through these as I find them, but you did the extractions and turned information over to Detective Grubb, correct?
Yes.
Did you view any of the information that you could testify to now that you gave to Detective Grubb?
I reviewed some of the data, yes.
Okay, well, I'll ask the questions and you can tell me if you can answer those or not. And these questions may bounce around a little bit too, because I'm not thinking of any particular order. The extractions that you took, are those from Matt's phone, Emily's phone, and the three women who found Emily?
Yes.
Okay. Does the extraction show any deleted calls or messages from the phone or deleted apps?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Was Matt's computer searched?
The fuck?
I don't know that answer.
Was Emily's iPad searched?
I can't answer that one. I don't know.
And I understand.
Okay.
Now, does location show up for messages or calls? Specifically, was
Apparently,
Matt's
he's on
location
trial for
911
smoking in his apartment.
Location?
Is this a civil
Phones?
trial for the
For
security
phone calls?
deposit?
It can show location data, but it's certain apps. If a photograph's taken on your phone and you have location data on and you take a picture, it's going to give GPS coordinates where that photo was. But as far
the
as
extraction, did that have an indication?
Are you a
the
GPS
where the
expert?
phone physically was located on the 24th, 25th?
I don't remember.
Okay. Were emails searched on Emily and Matt's two phones?
I didn't search them. I'm not sure.
And I assume that to be the case. Okay. And again, you may not be able to answer these. Were any messages on Amy's phone of importance from Durbin? Somebody named Durbin?
I don't recall.
Okay. And this goes back to the search of the
Bro,
location.
what
There
good
was an
are you,
electrical
for
device
real?
on the top of the cooler discovered by Matt on the AM of May 25th. Amy shows now it was not on the cooler. Do you know why it was moved since Matt felt it was unusual?
I don't.
Okay. You may not know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. When did Detective Grubbs first review the details of the phone extraction?
I don't know the answer to that.
That'd be for him to answer, I guess. Again, do you know what the last date and time of Emily's text messages and calls were?
I don't.
Okay.
You know anything, sir?
Do you know
Yeah.
what date
Basically.
maximum was taken from him to have the data extracted?
The first device was taken on the 27th of May.
27th of May?
Yes,
Was that part of the search?
yes.
If there is a way to show if things are deleted or erased, can you still find them on the phone?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. Can the extraction be run for specific dates and timeframes?
Yes,
And we're back to the search. Were blankets ever pulled back on any bed to see if there was anything on sheets or bedding as far as evidence?
yes.
Was the bed in bedroom, I believe E, a pull-out couch?
I don't know.
Here's a better question. Was it ever pulled out and checked?
I don't know that answer, yes.
Do you know when Emily's phone was last used on 5/24/20 and how it was used?
No, sir.
Why was there such a delay in searching the Samsung device?
If that was the second device,
I believe you had two devices searched one year and then one a following year. I think that's the one the question is posed to.
that device was searched after their arrest.
Okay. Can you tell if anything was removed from the phones between 5/24/20 and the time
Yeah,
of
I've seen.
extractions?
Not technically.
If it show up on the report as deleted data, you possibly see that, but
Was
I
there-
don't know without looking at the data.
Seen because it was.
I don't think you can answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. Were the photos of the residents taken during the search compared to the body cam footage by Officer
I'm not
Powers,
sure.
specifically the bedroom closets?
What the
I
fuck
don't
do I actually know?
know.
Nothing. It's because there's nothing
You
worth
know-
anything in this
I think you maybe
testimony.
answered this already. Did you know if the defendant had advance notice the search warrant was coming?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Questions from the state?
Just to clarify a couple things, Your Honor. Doesn't take long.
All right.
Detective,
I'm making up.
we talked about two phones from Mr. Moore.
Yes.
When was the first one, the iPhone, collected and then analyzed?
The iPhone was collected on the day of the search warrant on the 27th. I don't remember off the top of my head the day it was analyzed, and then I believe the second device, the Android device, was collected on the time of his arrest.
Okay, so there's a delay between those two?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked about specific messages, location data, last time Emily used her phone, questions of that nature. Is that because you extracted the phone and then provided it to Detective?
There, is that
Gross
any
for
better?
substantive data?
I did. That's correct.
No further questions, thank you.
Follow up on one issue. You mentioned how apps on a phone can track your location. Do you remember saying that? Like, I'm sorry, if you took a photograph and the photo saved with your phone, the photo could track your location when the picture was taken. Does that sound right?
If you have location settings on for that, yes, ma'am.
So to follow up on that question.
Sorry,
apps can act in the
my
same
internet
way,
was
right?
being
If you
fucky,
allow,
so-
location in your settings, that could also track where you are.
Yes, ma'am.
For instance, when we're talking about
could see the
apps,
lag
like if
spikes.
I'm on Google Maps and I have that app and I type in a location and I arrive there, that could track my location as well.
Yes, Google tracks your location, yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm advised by counsel this may be an appropriate time to close for the evening. I think any additional witnesses would carry us a little too further on, and we wouldn't be able to finish them. So, again, we'll conclude the day's proceedings. As always, remember the court's admonition.
All right, so that is end of day 2. We still don't have a launch time for the SpaceX Falcon, so we'll keep going with day 3. Get a little bit further into it. The SpaceX is just still saying SpaceX is evaluating the next launch opportunity for Falcon 9 from Kennedy Space Center. I assume that it is an issue with something because it's been interesting to say the least. So, let me pull up day 3 and we'll get right into day 3. So we have day 3, day 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like there are a total of 8 days to this. Real time, and we are on day 3. We're just barely through halfway, but I'm hoping that something picks up here in the near future. So there's writing vigorously.
Heard on the issue of the therapist records, if now is the appropriate time, I'm prepared to address the court. Thank you, Your Honor, and I appreciate that opportunity to review the case law that applies to what defense counsel is seeking to do with these therapy records.
Potentially.
What is that?
I'm
I mean, what you want to do with records? I don't know.
No, I'm refuting. We do not believe defense counsel has even reached the threshold of admissibility under the rules of evidence to have these therapy records admitted whole cloth. And here's why, Your Honor. If you look at these medical records and these therapy records, they contain not only medical diagnoses, but statements purported to be from Emily Noble. The case law and the hearsay exceptions state that when you are considering admitting a medical diagnosis as a business record, the court must engage in a multi-pronged analysis. And there are multiple prongs of this analysis that counsel does not meet. Namely, Your Honor, and I'll give you the case, just let me get that for you. And this is coming directly from our very own Court of Appeals here in Delaware County, the 5th District, State v. Boyer. The case, and I'll provide this to you, Your Honor, if you want it, is 2015, Ohio 4951. In that case, the court held and reiterated that in order for the record to come in, not only are several things that have to be done, but I'm going to point out the things that counsel cannot meet. Specifically, that the diagnosis must not have rested solely upon the subjective complaint of the patient. The diagnosis must have been made by a qualified person. We have no statement.
Is there a diagnosis in these records?
We believe that the records of, that yes, there are notes from the therapist regarding diagnosis. If the court looks at the records as a whole, you will see those. If the use of the record is for the purpose of proving the truth of the matter asserted at trial, it must be the product of the parties seeking its admission. These are not the product of the defense seeking its admission. The diagnosis must have been the result of a well-known and accepted objective testing and examining practices and procedures. We have no evidence of that contained in the affidavit submitted, Your Honor. So that's the one part of the analysis as to whether or not the hearsay contained in these records of the medical diagnosis are admissible. And they simply are not, because counsel cannot meet this threshold. And this threshold is reiterated by other cases that I can provide to the court. The other analysis the court must look at are these statements contained in there that say, client reported. Client being Emily Noble. Emily Noble's statement to the therapist. And counsel is seeking to admit those, I'm not sure under what basis. Is it statement for a medical purpose? Is it statement as a business record? It is not statement contained in a business
71.
record. If it's statements for a medical purpose, we have to have testimony that shows that these statements were made and applied for a medical purpose or diagnosis. You cannot infer that the statements made by Emily Noble to her therapist had anything to do with her diagnosis. There has to be expert testimony to that fact. The custodian of records is not qualified to make that opinion. And Your Honor, I can point to case law.
The professional isn't
for the court
allowed to make that opinion?
State v. Holmes, 2003, Ohio, 4092. There must be foundational testimony to admit statements for medical purposes. The custodian of records, specifically in State v. Holmes, the court said is not in a position to provide that foundational testimony, Your Honor.
Well, I think the male prosecutor is the biggest pussy.
Regarding
Ghost free,
defense counsel's assertion that she wants to use these
my opinion.
records with Detective Grubbs, that's simply improper. And the case that establishes that, Your Honor, is Henry McKenzie, 1994, Westlaw 667972, where the court indicated that Evidence Rule 803 does not permit a witness to give hearsay testimony of the content of business
she was
records
hung
based
from a
solely
tree.
upon the review of those records. That is exactly what she would be asking Detective Grubbs to do. The rules and the case law simply do not allow that, Your Honor. I have additional cases for Your Honor to support the state's
What did
position.
Detective Grubb do with these records when he obtained them as part of his investigation?
You reviewed them?
Was that part of his evaluation in terms of whether or not the case ought to be presented to the grand jury?
I can't speak for Detective Grubbs regarding that, but
Then I just need to find that out.
the decision on whether or not to present a case to the grand jury is the prosecutor's office decision.
Well, I understand the process, but I'm saying part of his, I mean, obviously you receive information from the investigating officer as to all the facts he's gathered. How does he use these records, if at all, regarding
Exactly.
his determination that the case ought to
It's our
go
court
forward?
system today.
And Your Honor, if you want to inquire, or if counsel wants to inquire of Detective Grubbs outside the presence of the jury before his testimony, I would make that suggestion. But reviewing the records is not enough to allow him to testify from them.
Okay, you have those cases you referred to there?
Yes.
I'll
So,
bring those up when we finish up there.
yep, I can email them to Nicole, Your Honor, if you would like email copies, or do you want my hard
I would
copies?
like the hard copies right now. You're asking me to make a decision
Pretty quickly, so you might as
So, Your
well.
Honor, I'm asking you not to make a decision pretty quickly. Counsel brought this on the
You
court.
want me to make a decision sometime, right?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
So
but
that's
we're-
fairly quickly if it's
We're
today.
here because defense counsel filed their motion during lunch.
Oh, here we go.
We're not asking you to do anything because they want the records admitted.
Okay, I think I understand your argument. If you can give me those copies, I appreciate
God,
it.
they've been so pissy,
cases.
the prosecutors, but they're a piece of shit. So they deserve every bit of it.
Use my scribbles and highlighting.
Trying to railroad some dude.
Thank you. All right, anything you'd like to say as to how we should proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. We did file a motion on this just briefly, citing hearsay evidence rules 8033, 8034, and 8036. I would just note, Your Honor, that part of the business records exception, which is 8036, that I know this court is familiar with, is particularly with respect to medical records, is part of the justification, if you will, is that the therapist in this situation, that being Angel Kessler, would have no reason, right, to input inaccurate information in a medical record, because by definition, that information is coming to her in a medical setting. I would just say that 8033, 8034, and 8036, I believe, get us into the those records in under each of those rules. I just want to address the relevancy issue. I think this is clearly a case about either it's a murder or it's
Agreed.
a suicide. It's just as simple as that.
Agreed.
And these records are from August
Not this
19th,
one. This one's been
to
fantastic,
November
but-
2000, August 2019 to November 2019, the time period in between Joey's suicide and Emily's remains being found. Joey's suicide is directly relevant and dispositive of the issue, given that he was found in a very similar way, hanging in a wooded area. Your Honor, I also think they're relevant with respect to rebut Amy Thomas's testimony, which is that Emily only went to counseling as a result of a condition of FMLA, which is not accurate. The medical records speak for themselves as to why she sought counseling in August of 2019. Lastly, I want to say this.
I think the records do kind of imply like she's there because of FMLA. I hear what you're saying.
You mean because of the disability for which she qualifies under FMLA?
Well, there's some language in the record that
Seems to give an indication she's there because of that, but it's not definitive. But go ahead, I don't mean to get you off base.
Please. And I don't disagree that to qualify for FMLA, you need to have a diagnosis of some sort. Your Honor, I also would just say to the court, I think the records, the treatment history and the counseling records themselves is separate and apart from the single line of diagnosis that is in the records. The diagnosis, which is in the records, which the state has argued about this morning, if the court should think that the records come in but the diagnosis doesn't, absent any additional testimony, I have no issue with that. We can redact the diagnosis, which is the one or two lines, I think at the bottom of the page, and then at the end of the counseling records, I know that the therapist changes the diagnosis. We have no issue with the diagnosis being removed to address the issues of that the state has raised. Otherwise, Your Honor, we would rest on our motion.
do you
What particularly, are you looking for statements that she made in here or statements made by the counselor or both?
Statements made by the counselor, Your Honor? No. And I think that falls under the diagnosis. Statements made by Emily as to present sense impression, what she was undergoing, what she was feeling and thinking at the time immediately following Joey's death. The counseling records do begin in August of 2019. And so I believe present sense impression as to what she was thinking and feeling on the heels of that suicide. Particularly, Your Honor, I also think it's relevant because in their opening argument, and I understand it's just argument, the state argued how she was brave and how she had rebounded.
I already ruled that's not coming in.
Okay.
If we do talk about
The records, we're redacting that aspect of any conversation about what occurred when she was 7 years old.
No, separate issue, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm saying thematically they were saying that Emily wouldn't have killed herself after Joey because she had rebounded from so much suicide before. But the records also rebut that rebounding issue because she's clearly struggling after Joey's suicide, and the records speak to themselves on that. So I'm not seeking to get into therapist statements. Again, I've already said my thoughts on the diagnosis. Also, Your Honor, I respect the court's order with respect to the allegation about prior sexual abuse. The court wants to redact that from the records. No issue there either. I think the Joey suicide is directly relevant. And for the hearsay exceptions that I stated, I think the records come in. I want to say one last thing as to how I would use them with Detective Grubbs. When I say use them, I think the records speak for themselves. I would obviously work with opposing counsel to redact the areas that I've just mentioned, but my anticipation of Detective Grubbs would be something along the lines of this. During the course of your investigation, did you or other members of your office subpoena mental health records for Emily Noble? Yes, we did. From where did you get those records? When could you tell the jurors the time frame when she sought mental health treatment from Serenity? Boom, boom. Show him the exhibit. Done. The records speak for themselves. I don't need his interpretation of them. That's not what I would seek, and I wouldn't seek. I think they speak for themselves, and they would go back as an exhibit, and if the jurors were interested in them, they could read them.
Your Honor, may I respond briefly, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Damn, this has been the best back and forth we've had.
Emily Noble's statements regarding in therapy are present sense impression. However, the state has been prohibited every step of the way from eliciting testimony regarding Emily's present state of mind after she suffered a tragedy, and I'm using defense counsel's word, specifically with witness Amy Thomas. That's a lot of tragedy. When counsel went through absolutely everything that's happened in Emily's life, the state was prohibited from following up as to Emily's present sense impression. It's quite disingenuous to now argue that these records containing her statements should be admissible when the state has been hamstrung by the objections to allowing that testimony to come in. Your Honor, with respect to these records, now counsel says, yes, last night it was, we want it in whole cloth. Now it's, oh no, we can pick and choose what we send back to the jury. Your Honor, these records and the rules of evidence exist to protect the truth and veracity contained in the records, to redact and parse them out without having the therapist or an expert to lay the foundational testimony for the jury to understand what is contained in those records.
Hey, Castro, I responded to you on...
There's just no legal basis to do that, Your Honor. And I point again to State v. Holmes that says
Tweet her,
a
sir.
custodian of records, which is the only thing counsel has provided by way of affidavit, is
With two different
wholly
ones.
not able to opine on whether or not statements contained in medical records are made for the purpose of medical diagnosis. We have no one here that will come in and say that right now, Your Honor. And until that happens, those records and the statements contained therein should not be put before the jury.
Thanks. All right.
We're going to take a quick break and then we'll bring jury in.
Fantastic. Jacob, I sent you 2 different tweets on Twitter. Well, actually, I sent you 3, but it should have just been 2.
Ready to go? Thank you very much. Stay ready to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense ready to proceed?
That's true.
Ready to go?
Because they brought a shit case.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was waiting until you finish your conversation, man. That's all right. That's no problem. Call your next witness.
State Recall Detective Powell to the stand.
All right.
I do.
Sir, can you state your name,
Stop it,
spell
Internet.
your last name for the record, please?
James Howe, Howe.
And, sir, where are you currently employed?
City of Columbus, Division of Police.
What do you do for the City of Columbus Division of Police?
I currently work in our digital forensics unit.
And this is always a loaded question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Can you explain to the jury what digital forensics, what is that?
In our unit, we handle all digital evidence, whether it's from a mobile device like a digital video recorder, computer. If it's digital, we normally extract data from it and then present that to detectives, prosecutors, defense attorneys.
And when you say digital data, is that consist of cell phones, computers, USB drives, hard drives, basically anything that can store electronic data?
Yes.
And how long have you been
No,
working
he's just
in
pissed that I
capacity?
made him a mod. Now he
I've
has
been
to do
doing
work.
digital forensics since 2012.
Okay. And in order to handle digital forensics
Over
and to
on,
deal with that on a regular
Rumble.
basis, do you have any specialized training that you've undergone in order to do that?
Yes.
Give us an idea of some of the trainings that you've undergone in order to complete those activities.
I hold certifications in the area of digital forensics and digital evidence. I've trained with the Secret Service pretty extensively at the National Computer Forensic Institute in Hoover, Alabama. I've also trained in digital forensics with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and several private companies.
Give us a ballpark. How many various trainings have you undergone over the course of your career involving digital forensics?
I'd say probably 100 or more. I don't have an exact count.
I know. That's why he
A
is
lot of
there.
those, would they entail cell phones?
Yes.
Okay. And prior to working in digital forensics, did you have other law enforcement experience?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury your previous law enforcement experience?
I've been with the City of Columbus since 2001. From 2001 to 2008, I worked patrol in the South Linden area of Columbus. In 2008, I went to our homicide bureau to work in the assault unit. And then in 2013, I was in our homicide unit until I took a role in the digital forensics unit once it was created in 2018.
And did you have training that you underwent prior to becoming a general law enforcement officer?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what that training entailed?
I completed our basic training academy, which is almost 7 months. I went through our detective bureau training, which was 2 weeks, and then I've been to several post trainings for like interview and interrogation, things like that.
And other than the initial trainings, is training pretty much regular and ongoing?
Yes.
So you talked a little bit about forensics, and I'm going to focus you more today on cell phones. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk generally. How would someone reach out to you in order to do a cell phone analysis?
There's a couple different ways that we do it. We'll take emails. People will bring us the evidence directly. Sometimes we'll go to scenes. Typically, a detective will reach out to us, give us an overview of what they're looking for and what type of evidence they have, and then we'll make a determination on how we're going to handle it.
Okay, so if someone comes into the office, hands you a cell phone, and asks you to do an analysis of that, what is the first step of your procedure?
The first thing we're going to do is secure the device. We're going to make sure that we take it off the network. We're going to talk to the detective. We're going to figure out if we're what type of legal authority we're dealing with, whether it be a search warrant, consent, because that's going to determine how we handle it and what we do. The first thing we're going to do is take it off the network, so that way no data is changed on the phone.
And when you say you take it off the network so no data has changed, can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Again, it'll depend on the state of the device and what type of authority we have to use it. What we'll typically do is put the device into airplane mode and likely eject the SIM card from the device. Those two things will help ensure that it's off the network. It's not going to send or receive any data.
Okay. Once you take that initial step, what happens next?
Again, it's going to determine the state of the device, whether it's on, whether it's off. If it's off, we're going to leave it off until we figure out, what we're going to do with it. We'll do some research on the device because different makes and models of phones have to be handled differently. Once we figure out what we're going to do and we have that authority, that's when we'll start our process. If the device is on, we'll leave it powered on. We'll supply power to the device so that way the device doesn't turn off because that presents a whole different set of circumstances.
Okay, so let's assume for purposes of your testimony today, the device is on and accessible to you, okay? Assuming the device is on and accessible to you, and assuming you have legal authority to then either search or do what you want with that cell phone, what do you do next?
In that case, we would determine if we had a password or not. If we had a password, we'd manually put it into airplane mode and then eject that SIM card from the device. If we didn't have a passcode and the device was turned on, we would use what's called a Faraday box, Ramsey box in our office. What that is it's a box that prevents any network connectivity.
And is it fair to assume then the next step is for you to start accessing the phone?
Yes.
Okay, and walk me through those steps and procedures when it comes to actually accessing the phone and then what happens at that point.
Again, depending on make and model, in this case it was an Apple device, we have several different tools that we could use to access that data. We're always going to go for the richest data set, so in this case we're going to attempt to get what's called a full file system extraction off of the phone, and that'll give us the most amount of data for evidence purposes.
You mentioned a full file system extraction. Are there different types of extractions?
Yes, on Apple devices, iPhone specifically, you're going to be able to get what's called a logical extraction, which is an iTunes backup, essentially. That's going to be the lowest level, and then you're going to be able to get a full file system if you have the correct tools.
Okay. And the differing file extractions are attempts to gather or to get as much information off the phone as possible?
Yes.
What types of physical tools or software tools are used during this process?
We use Cellebrite's UFED, which is a universal forensic extraction device, to extract data from most phones. We have other tools in our office that are a little higher level, and then we use what's called physical analyzer to parse that data out once we get the extraction.
Now, you've used the word extraction a few times, and when I think of extraction, I think of taking from one thing and kind of putting it over here to the side. What do you mean by extraction?
With an extraction, what we'll do is we'll create an image of the device contents. It's a copy of what's on the device, and that's what we will work off of rather than work on the actual device itself.
Now, why would you want to use the digital copy to work on or to search or look through things as opposed to the physical device itself?
With the physical device itself, if you manually go through the device, phones they can't be write blocked, so you're going to change things. It's just the nature of a cell phone. So working off of a copy with our software allows us to make sure we minimize any changes that will occur on the phone itself. For example, if we were to manually scroll through, like say text messages, and there was an unread text message on the phone, and we happened to click on that, it would then flip what's called a flag, and that message would go from unread to read.
So by looking at the image, let me ask you this, the digital image, that extraction, does that create a perfect extraction or perfect copy of what's on the phone?
I'm sorry?
Phone? Yeah, let me ask you a better way. So when we're talking about the extraction, you talked about taking an image of what is on the physical phone. Does that make a copy of what's on the phone and allows it to be searchable, or does that in and of itself change some of the data?
Yeah, so we'll have an image of the phone that we then put into our analysis software, and then that will display the contents that we were able to extract.
And then when you're looking through that extraction or that image and you're reviewing items, does that change those flags or those items that you discussed on the physical phone?
No.
So would that leave that evidence or what's on the phone untouched and in the state it was when airplane mode was turned on?
Yes.
Are there some items when doing extractions of phones that just aren't recovered, and what do you have to do in those cases if they exist to look at those additional items?
There can be. Obviously, there's a lot of different applications, probably hundreds of thousands at this point, with the various like Android store or the Apple store. So not all the software parses that type of data. So there might be a new application on the market that the tools just don't support. That information is stored in databases on the phone, and we can manually go in and look at some of that if we have to.
And if you have to manually go through, say, an application or something of that nature, how's that done?
We will, again, in that physical analyzer software, which we use, we would go straight to that. We would locate the application. We would go to the database, and then it's just manually looking through like the raw data and kind of piecing stuff together.
Now, you mentioned a few times something called physical analyzer. Can you give us a bigger picture idea of what physical analyzer is?
That's, again, the analysis software that we use. That's what we load that extraction image into. The software then looks at the whole image and kind of categorizes all the data for us. It puts it in a displayable manner where we're able to read it.
Is it fair to say it puts it in a more readable format other than a bunch of zeros and ones and computer jargon?
Yes.
And by putting it in physical analyzer, does that make it more searchable or able to find whatever may have been on the phone?
Yes, it categorizes most of the data, and then we're also able to manually go through that and search through it if we're looking for something specific.
Once you're able to do an extraction on the phone and determine that extraction was done properly and readable through physical analyzer, in your unit, how does that typically work? Do you review the data, or do you then pass it on to someone else to review the data at that point?
Both ways. It depends on the experience level of the detective. We have some detectives who are very good at going through the data and they want to manually go through it themselves. So they'll ask for what they typically refer to as a full dump. And then we'll have other detectives who aren't as comfortable doing it. We'll sit down with them. They'll specifically tell us what they're looking for, and then we'll search through the data and tag everything that related to whatever it is they may be looking for.
Okay. And is that in part because sometimes you don't know what the case may be about or what might be relevant evidence?
Yes, a lot of times we aren't involved in the case initially. It could be several days, weeks, or months after, sometimes years before we actually get the data and look at it.
Now, something I want to talk about here. Well, you mentioned Cellbrite Reader. Are you familiar with Cellbrite Reader?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what Cellbrite Reader is?
Cellbrite Reader, the UFED reader, is Cellbrite's version. It's a pared down version of Physical Analyzer, basically. It allows the detectives or prosecutors or defense attorneys to go through that report. What we'll do is, once we've done our analysis, the extraction's finished, it's been placed in the Physical Analyzer software, we've done everything that we're going to do with it. At that point, we'll create what's called a UFED reader report from that Physical Analyzer software, and then we'll provide that to whoever needs it.
And again, then that would allow whoever that gets passed on to the ability to search the information that was extracted in a more user-friendly way?
Yes.
Again, that process, does that change any of the nature of the data that was extracted from the phone?
No.
And again, does that change any of the data that would have originally been on the phone up until the point that it was put on airplane mode?
No.
Are you able to create something then called extraction reports?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what an extraction report generally is?
So the UFED gives you several different options. You can do PDF reports, Excel reports, Microsoft Word reports. It just depends what that end person is looking for, what format they want it in. The reader and PDFs are usually the most popular because they can't be changed and they're the easiest to search through. So once the detectives can generate their own report from the UFED reader report that we give them, or they can just stay with that UFED reader report.
And obviously, we're here in the case involving Emily Noble and Matheau Moore. Were you involved in some capacity in this case?
Yes.
And did Detective Leckie from Westerville Police Department reach out to you and speak with you about this case?
Yes.
And did you assist him with working through the extractions in this case and going through those digital items?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Certainly.
Sir, Detective, I'm going to ask you to look at what's been labeled States Exhibit 13, 14, and 15. If you can just look at those briefly, please. Generally speaking, what are those items, States Exhibit 13, 14, and 15?
These are extraction reports from the Apple iPhone.
Just to clarify something, sir, States Exhibit 14, I'm going to point to an area in the middle there. I believe you mentioned that was, these are iPhones. Was States Exhibit 14 a different type of phone?
Yes, I'm sorry. That's a Samsung Galaxy.
I'm going to put up one of these reports that we just identified, States Exhibit 15. I just want to walk through this. So, sir, there's a screen there next to you. Feel free to draw in there if you think it helps the explanation. But I first want to focus you on this area here that I sort of boxed off. I believe it's entitled Summary. Can you describe just the general nature of the content that is put in the report under Summary?
Yes. So this is going to be input some of this is going to be input by the person who generates the report. The very top line is going to give you the Cellbrite Physical Analyzer version number. The second line is going to be your report creation date and time, so that's the time that the detective actually generated the report. The third line here is going to be your time zone settings, and that's going to be based off of the phone itself. The next one is going to be the examiner who was using the physical analyzer software, and again, that's user input, so Detective David Lechty, sorry. In user input, again, that's going to be the location of where the extraction occurred. The next line is going to be the case number that the user input. Next is going to be the department, so in this case it was Westerville Division of Police. Your investigator, again, user input, Detective Lechty would have put Detective S. Grubbs, and then here is your crime type, which was homicide in this case.
If it makes you feel better, I already apologized to Detective Lechty yesterday in case I butchered his name, so I think he's pretty used to that by now. Looking next, just generally here for source extraction, I'm going to make a notation here, a little arrow in the middle of that. Can you just identify what we're looking at, or where I've identified?
Yes, that is the identification of the device once it was connected up to the physical analyzer software, the UFED. So it was an iPhone 8 Plus.
Also, these top two portions of source extraction, can you identify that as well, please?
That's going to be the date and time that the extraction started and when it was completed.
I'm going to flip now to page 3 of 9. And actually, I'm going to start first on page 2 of 9, just to show this is a section labeled device information, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now go into page 3 of 9. I'm going to notate here towards the top of the page, MSISDN. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that area of information?
Yeah, that's the mobile subscriber identification number, so it's essentially going to be the phone number to the device.
I'm also going to notate two areas towards the top of that page labeled Apple ID. It appears to be on there 2 different places. Can you identify that area as well?
Yes, that's going to be the user accounts that the software identified as being in the device as an Apple ID.
Do you know why there would be maybe more than one Apple ID on a device?
It had been signed into from both of the accounts, and our software, or the physical analyzer software, is able to identify multiple user accounts.
So I want to flip now to, I'll start here on the bottom of page 7 of 9, this area labeled contents. Before we start walking through contents, can you describe to the jury this area of the report and what information generally that entails?
That's going to be the data that we extracted from the device, so it's going to kind of break it out and categorize it for you.
Yes. So fair to say that prior to contents, there's a lot of background information on the phone, the device, the types of extractions done, and then content then brings in what was actually located on the phone once that extraction was completed?
Yes.
And I want to walk through these because there's a lot of information, but the first one there, activity sensor data. What type of information would be entailed in activity sensor data under contents?
In that one, you're going to see health data, so you're going to see steps taken. If they have a watch with, like an Apple Watch or something with a device, you could see heartbeat, things of that nature. It's going to give you, with the steps taken, it's going to give you the number of steps. It's going to give you the area of the steps in meters.
And before we continue, there are 2 columns, one that says included in report and one that says total. Can you identify those for me, please?
Yes, so we do have the ability to go in and make what we refer to as like a condensed report. So it'll tell you the number of artifacts. So in like this case, it's 7,993. The examiner could go in and determine that, say, 300 of those were relevant and the other were not, and you were able to just tag those items, include those in the report. So it would make a much smaller artifact report to go through.
And the extraction report, an example that we're looking at here in State's Exhibit 15, can that report be created multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps there's maybe a smaller, more condensed report. There could also be a bigger report depending on who's using the software and what they're looking for.
Yes, like for example, in our office, we might give you a full report after the extraction's done. Our analysts and detectives would start to go through it, and then we might work on a much smaller report based on the information that they give us, and we pare that down and give that to them later, just because of the amount of time.
Matthew's been in my chat every night,
We'll
but
use
tonight
this first one as an example, because we were just talking about it,
I
activity
have
sensor
spoken
data.
with him outside of the chat
Here's
scenario.
7,993 items included in this report. Is that searchable
he's a
in
good
any
guy.
way? And if I have this pulled up on my computer, this report, how am I able to do that?
Yes, so for example, in a UFED reader report, you could double click on that activity sensory data and you could look at just that data rather than searching through. So you can search you can do it a couple of different ways. You can search the whole image that we've taken to see if that, whatever it is you're looking for, shows up, or you can look in just this particular artifact. So if you were to, for example, to double click on that activity sensory data, you could search just through that database.
Okay, and would that then bring up a sort of sub-report of just activity sensor data?
Yes.
Okay, so is it the easiest way to think of that is almost like a website link where you click it and it takes you to that website?
Yes.
What about the next item, aggregated application usage? What types of information would be included in there?
So if you were to launch if you have a smartphone, you were to launch an application on the phone, say Facebook or Snapchat, anything like that, it's going to track that, what usage you were, what apps you were using at a particular time.
I'm going to skip ahead to some of the more, I guess, more known ones, but calendar and call logs. Can you identify what types of items we find in calendar and call logs?
Calendar can have stock items like holidays. You'll see that a lot, Christmas, Halloween, things like that. And then it can also be user data. So if you put in birthdays or you have an event or something that you're attending, so we can also go through that.
And what about call logs?
Call logs is essentially who you're calling, who's calling you.
Not that Matt. Matt, the defendant in this trial, Matt.
And again, especially calendar and call logs, these are things that I can pull my phone out and search on my physical phone, correct?
Yes.
But by doing the extraction of this type, you're able to view those items without changing any of the underlying data on the phone. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. Once we have extracted the data from the phone, we typically don't do anything else with the device itself.
What about chats? This area here, and then it looks like there are some sub-items working our way down from there.
Yeah, so chats is exactly chats, but broken down, you'll see it's between like Facebook Messenger. It'll give you the Facebook Messenger ID. On an iPhone, they have what's called iMessages, so that's an Apple device to an Apple device. Native messages, those are going to be your just typical text messages. Say you text someone who has an Android device, you're not going to see that iMessage. You're not going to see that blue bubble. You're going to see the green bubble.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that I believe this like chats area, you could click it and it was like a website link. Does that also work for these sort of sub folders?
Yes, you could search through each one of those individually. So if you knew the two people were communicating with Apple devices, the first place you would likely go is through those iMessages.
And just for purposes of the record, I'm identifying on the screen the chat section and some of the subsections on the screen for the jury.
Yes.
There's an item a little bit further down, about a third of the way down, device connectivity, and there appear to be 1,173 items. What types of information we find under device connectivity?
If your device is connecting to, like, say, Wi-Fi routers, or it's seeing cell tower IDs, things like that, in the connectivity, you could see that type of information.
And I skipped up here cell towers, but are you able to use cell tower and device connectivity to gather sub-location data?
Yes.
And also there's a section down here labeled locations as well.
Yes.
What types of information could those items provide?
So if you're looking at the cell towers up there, what that is logging is when the device sees what it thinks is a cell tower, just based on some information that the device receives. So it would be the physical tower itself where it thinks that is. The locations is the more accurate place that we would go to look. So if you're taking photographs and you have like location services enabled, if you're using GPS on like an application, at that point, we'd be able to pull some information from there.
And the next item I want to look at is device events, the next one down from under connectivity. Can you describe what types of information would be entailed in device events?
Yes, so your Apple device really tracks like everything that you do. So as far as it's for other connectivity, like if you want to say start a text on your iPhone and you finish it on your iPad and then you read it on like your Mac device, it tracks all of that activity. So in this case, you could potentially see if a device was plugged in, if an application was in the foreground, the background, just any type of device activity. There's just a lot of information. If you're using a particular app at a time, at a specific time, if you move an app from looking at it to go to another app, it tracks that.
You mentioned, so plugging a phone in or unplugging a phone, is that something that would be under device events or something else?
That would be under device events.
Okay. What about turning a phone on, turning a phone off? Is that something that's logged and would be in the report here?
Yes, you could see a device turned on, a device unlocked, a device powered off, if the screen just lights up and then goes back off.
And where is that information contained in?
That's going to be in the Knowledge C database, so you would see that under the device events.
Okay. What about if I'm looking at an image or looking at something on my phone, sort of an up and down on my phone, and I turn it sideways to more of that like landscape format? Is
Yes.
that logged in any way?
Yes, you would see if you were in the portrait or the landscape. If a device rotates, it logs all of that.
Just a little bit in the middle there, instant messages. Can you explain, is that different than the messages section that you described earlier?
Yes, that can break down, like if you're using, they used to do them all together. The instant messages, they break them out like if you're using WhatsApp and things like that to go back and forth with messages.
There's a section down here labeled notes. Can you identify to the jury what types of information would be in the notes section?
Yes, in the notes section, the Apple device has it's just labeled notes. You can go in and write things. You can store photographs there, things of that nature.
A little bit further down now, searched items appears to be in the report. What types of information would we expect to be contained under searched items?
That can be information that was searched on the device. So if you're looking through an application, if you're looking through like a web browser, things of that nature.
Just under that, social media.
That'll break down the different social media accounts, things that were going on with those accounts.
And then I think the last one on this page at the very bottom, web history.
Yes.
What types of information is typically contained in web history?
You'd be able to go through the browser history. So the stock application on an Apple device is the Safari browser, but you can use other browsers as well. So it would break those down.
Now, I believe, well, let me just ask you this. So in these columns, the columns on the right-hand side, those two columns that we identified earlier, there appear to be some red items under there that I marked that say deleted. Can you explain what the difference would be between this first number and then maybe some of the deleted items that are notated there?
The first number is the total number of artifacts that were recovered. So in this particular case, it was 841. The ones marked in red that say 180, those were 180 items that were recovered that were marked for deletion.
And when you say marked for deletion, what is that?
It had been what you would typically think of as deleted, where the user's not going to see it any longer. The way deletion actually works is we're able to recover it as long as it hasn't been overwritten with new data.
So if there's an item in this one that I marked 180 deleted, does that notate items that were marked for deletion but were recovered from the extraction?
Yes.
And if I were to have clicked then or double clicked search items and it pulls up that separate report, would that separate report contain both the items that weren't marked for deletion and the items that were marked for deletion?
In this case, yes.
Okay, and would that be notated on those reports whether that item was deleted or not?
Yes, you would be able to go through and see which item was marked for deletion.
I know we're not going through every single line item, but your testimony based on these line items in a general sense, those columns and so forth, does that testimony fit for all the items that we're walking through or not walking through on your report?
Yes.
I think the last one here I want to focus on is this one here called timeline. It appears to be a pretty large number over here on the right-hand side. Can you explain to the jury what the timeline means?
The timeline is all the artifacts grouped together by date and time, and it'll show you the application usage, the device events, text messages sent, received in a ascending or descending order.
So instead of double-clicking one of these and just getting a single item, does timeline sort of congregate a lot of those items together and put them in a linear order?
Yes.
What types of items are generally located in the timeline section?
Pretty much anything you see in the artifacts, it's going to be device usage. So what we'll do, what we typically use timeline for, is if we know at a specific date and time that we're looking for, the first thing we'll do is jump into that timeline, start to go through it, filter that time down, and then look at what was going on at the device at that time. So you may see an application come up in the background. You may see a text message sent, a photograph taken, just things like that in the order that it was done.
So does the timeline function in these reports give you or the investigating detective a chance to look at a period of time and see what the phone may have been doing or not doing during that period of time?
Yes.
Or what the user is doing on that phone or a user is doing on that phone during that period of time?
Yes, what was occurring during that specific time frame.
And just since we're here as well, there's an area marked data files and then again a bunch of sub-reports. What are we looking at there?
That's a lot of just data. The two most important ones that we typically get into, the three most important ones are the databases, the images, and the videos.
And again, all these items under content that we've described are searchable either by those specific functions or in the timeline situation, kind of putting all those together?
Yes.
Or most of those together?
Yes.
If I may have just one moment here. Thank you, Detective. I have no further questions at this time.
Ross, please. No questions? All right. You folks have any questions? Feel free to write them down. All right, you have some?
So yet another witness and yet another, we didn't really get a whole lot of anything from them. I don't understand what the state's case is in this. I still haven't got a reasonable case from anyone. From any witness. And that's the thing. If I didn't know it was a murder case, then I would just be like, is this I really think it would be maybe a civil case on a smoking violation, but that's all I can see. That's all I can even remotely see from this. And it's insane. It's insane that that's all that they have is a smoking violation.
Are the records extracted
In
or
the
collected on the iPhone saved
condo.
anywhere else?
Fuck.
In other words, if the phone is destroyed, say burned, would there be any way to retrieve information?
So two different ways, if I'm understanding the question correctly, is we can pull data from third parties, so cell phone carriers, we can go to Apple itself. individual specific applications, say if we have a Snapchat account or, we're able to identify any of those accounts. If a phone is damaged, it depends on the actual amount of damage. We have people who can repair those. For example, I have a phone that we were currently extracting data from that has a bullet hole through it. So it is possible, but it depends on the level of damage to get it from the device itself.
Thank you. If someone takes out a SIM card and puts in another, does the info on the phone go with the SIM card? Is it then lost if another SIM card is in its place? Those are two questions, maybe.
With that information, we would be able to track through the phone itself and through the cell phone carrier that SIM card exchange. There's identification numbers on the card, what's called an ICC ID and an MZ number, an IMSI number. We would see that change, and the device does track that.
Okay. Will the web history include incognito mode?
Yes.
And will the search items include incognito mode?
Yes.
Were the items numbered for deletion, mainly deleted by the user? I'm not sure I can read the question. I'm sorry. Were the items numbered for deletion mainly deleted by user or automatic?
Both. It would depend. We would have to go in and then look at that deletion and see what occurred. There are things that, like for applications, for example, where they will just automatically delete something, or you could have your text messages set up to delete, like with an iPhone, after a certain amount of time. So while that may not be user activity going in and manually deleting something, it would be the device, the system doing it.
And will the timeline list the items in the time zone of the phone at the time of the extraction?
Yes, we have ways that we can go in and look at that and ensure that it's the correct time zone, or at least the time zone that was on the device at the time.
Well, thank you. Does that raise any questions for the state?
I hate to say one question, it always ends up more than that.
That's fine, as many as you want.
So you talked about the SIM card and a couple of the numbers that would log whether SIM cards were moved.
Yes.
Is the easiest way to think of that like a VIN number on a car?
Yes, the ICC ID number is essentially the serial number of that card. It's the one, if you've ever seen a SIM card, that's typically printed on the outside. The IMSI number is internal. It's on the SIM memory that we're able to extract. We can get that from the carrier also.
Nothing further. Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just one. You used just now the term user activity, and I've heard you use usage before. I just want to for the jury make sure that that I'm understanding. User activity, would you agree with me, excludes data that may not be the exclusive result of human interaction with a device?
Yes.
So let me give you for instance. So if user activity excludes activities such as answered calls, read chats, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? User activity is when I'm really interfacing with my phone.
Yes.
And then there's usage, which is a different terminology. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how is usage defined?
They can be both. It would show usage if you're using like the application at the time, but there can be things that applications can update. They can send you notifications, stuff like that, and you could see that would be listed as usage. That device is, that application is being used at that time. I guess at that time it's active.
And so kind of the larger umbrella is usage, but user activity is when I'm interfacing with the phone.
Yes, and that's where the timeline would be really important, because you would want to look at the before and after of what's going on to determine if it's user activity or if it's just the application or whatever, doing something it's supposed to do.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Give me a set down. Call your next witness.
State calls detective drugs.
All right, we'll finish up with Detective Grubbs tonight. So we'll finish up this individual, and then we'll call it for tonight. So, Detective Grubbs. Let's see if he has anything that's reveling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name for the record?
It's Detective Stephen Grubbs, Grubbs.
And what is your current occupation, sir?
I am a detective for the Westerville Police Department.
And how long have you been a detective?
Been a detective almost 5 years.
And did you have prior law enforcement experience before becoming a detective?
I did.
And can you walk us through that a little bit, please?
So I received my Bachelor's of Criminal Justice from Tiffin University. Later went on to receive my Master's of Criminal Justice from Michigan State University. I was hired by the Westerville Police Department October of 2000.
Go green, go white.
Becoming certified as a peace officer. I worked essentially patrol and as a training officer for other newer officers from essentially February 2001 until I was injured on duty in 2006. While I was injured and rehabbing and everything else, as my light duty status, they essentially, if you remember when the To Catch a Predator stuff and all that was going on, all the online chatting and activity and stuff, while I was on light duty, they had me start chatting with guys online, ultimately trying to find, posing as a underage female and trying to find guys online looking to meet.
Was there a specific organization that you worked with for that?
At that time, no. As just out of a light duty status. Ultimately came back full duty as a police officer. And then in 2009, I was one of the initial members of the Franklin County Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. And since then, I had served essentially a dual purpose. I would spend part of my week working as a uniformed patrol officer and part of my week with the ICAC task force.
And how long did you do that?
A teenage girl slut.
Basically had that joint role from 2009 until
I guess we can't be surprised by that
in
in
late 2017.
2021, 2, 3, 4,
May
5.
26th of 2020, where you
2030 is going to be hell.
Yes, sir.
What do you remember about how your day began?
Typically,
he's
how it
definitely-
begins is we receive a briefing sheet. It's kind of a rundown of reports that the department has taken from the previous day. It's broken down by each shift and the type of report. It gives the report number and just usually like a 1 or 2 sentence synopsis as to what the report was about. Like if your, say, Officer Jones had gone out and taken a theft report from a car that had been broken into, it'd say, car broken into overnight, iPad stolen. Just as a thumbnail version.
Spartans! What is your profession?
As to what the reports were. So my day generally starts out by reviewing the reports taken from the previous day.
And did you see a report relating to a missing 52-year-old woman?
I did.
And what did you do when you saw that?
As that part of that thumbnail provides the report number itself, so I can then go into the system and actually pull up the report and read all the details that the patrol officer had taken. The exact location, what the narrative was, the dates and times, anything relevant to the report itself, I'm able to read it.
After you read the initial information, what did you do next?
I actually tracked down my Detective Sergeant Alloway and requested if I could be assigned this missing person report for investigation.
And did then Sergeant Alloway assign that case to you?
Yes, sir, he did.
Can you describe for the jury what it means to be to have an investigation assigned to you?
To have it assigned to you, essentially, that case is your baby. You're responsible for it. You can reach out and ask others for help if you need it. Generally, most cases, you can usually work either by yourself or with 1 or 2 other people. Of course, the good thing about our detective bureau is if we need something, we're there for each other. So if I need other guys
pretty
to
much,
help
and
with
they
things,
didn't
I
really
can
need
do
to
it. So
pay
at that
anybody.
point,
That's,
you almost become a
I mean, that's
court of
average
backup.
Ohio
You can't
evening.
do
So,
everything on your own. You need
I mean, they
some
could have
of your
just
teammates to help you
just tapped some
investigate
phones
things.
and saved a hell of a lot of money.
And were you the lead investigator then in this investigation here?
Yes, sir.
Very.
With respect to my colleague, I want to skip forward a little bit towards the end of this investigation.
Yes, sir.
Did you receive a call on September 16th of 2020?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what was that call that you received?
It was a call from Detective Sergeant Alloway notifying me that a body had been located in the woods.
And did you respond to that location?
Yes, sir, I did.
Generally speaking, where was that?
It was essentially northeast of County Line and Crossings in Westerville.
You've been here and seen the map a lot of times?
Yes, sir.
What's the nearest road along those woods?
County Line Road.
How did you go into the woods when you got there?
I had parked my vehicle actually on County Line. There were numerous emergency vehicles lined up at that point, and parked and tracked down Lieutenant Dickinson, who was one of the on-scene supervisors at that point, and had made my way in from County Line Road and the sidewalk north through into the wooded area.
Did you take photographs of the scene when you responded?
Yes, sir, I did.
And were you aware of anybody else that was going to be dispatched to that location?
Truer words have
Yes, I
never
was
been
notified
spoken,
that,
Bobby.
Ohio BCI was en route, but they were not on scene at that point.
And what was BCI's role going to be?
They would be the primary ones to take more photographs, gather any evidence, and then ultimately provide that evidence to us.
So ultimately, you were not going to be the one to personally process the scene,
That is correct.
but you did take some photos to show what it looked like when you were there.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, maybe approach.
They came all over the place.
Now, Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Detective, I'm handing you what's been marked states of it's 63 through 70. Take a moment for approval.
Seriously, nothing. There's not a damn shred of evidence anywhere in this entire case.
Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir, I do.
And generally speaking, what are they?
These are photographs essentially starting out from the sidewalk closest to County Line Road and then entering into the woods as you approach the body in the wood line.
And are those some of the photographs that you took on the evening of September 16th?
Yes, they are.
Are they true and accurate depictions of the scene as you saw it that evening?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I'd ask to publish the exhibit 63 through 70.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Please go.
Detective, for the record, I'm now showing you State Exhibit 63 up on the projector. Can you tell us what it is that we're looking at here?
This is the sidewalk and crime scene tape as you are facing north, generally into the woods north of County Line Road.
Detective, I'm now showing you State Exhibit 64. Can you tell the jury what it is we're looking at here?
This is, again, continuing facing north as you approach what appears to be a body in the woods north of County Line.
And can you circle that for the jury, what it is you're looking at there? And Detective, can you describe where you're standing to take this photograph?
Wait, I
Standing,
missed something.
South of the body, I'd say approximately 20, 25 feet of it.
Elevation-wise, compared to where the sidewalk is, can you describe for us?
Yes,
What
it's
exactly
actually
just
from
happened?
the sidewalk as you start to enter the woods. The hill will actually go down decline, and it's not an easy terrain to make it through, but then it will level out. But this area is lower than the County Line Road part itself.
Did anybody catch what the hell's going on there? Because I missed that. Seemed important.
Detective, I'm now showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 65. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is another photograph from the south facing north of a body in the woods north of County Line.
Oh, it's the body in the woods.
State Exhibit 66.
Again, this is another photograph of the body as it was found in the woods north of County Line.
It did look like it was on the ground.
In the middle of the body,
And that
there's
looks
something hanging down
relatively
there. Can you describe
small
for the jury
in
what that is?
the
It's a
general
part of a
area
black plastic
that it takes up.
USB.
Honestly,
Generally speaking, can you describe the positioning of the body?
Generally speaking, it is upright. She is essentially on her knees, You can see her right foot sticking out, and the left foot is later determined to be underneath the body itself.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's marked as Exhibit 67. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
So this is after the Delaware County coroner's investigator and BCI had been on scene. I didn't want to approach before they were there. And this is a photograph northwest, basically aiming down towards the body itself. This is more of the front of the remains of the body.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's marked as Exhibit 68. Can you tell the jury what it is we're looking at here?
This is a close-up of the rest of the USB. As I mentioned earlier, the black plastic USB that you could see on the back, this is more the USB that was above the body.
So I want to talk about the ends of the cord.
Yes, sir.
Or cable, I guess, maybe a better word. Showing against Exhibit 66. Can you circle where one end of the cable was?
Yes, sir.
So right in the middle of the back,
Yes, sir.
hanging down. And then on State Exhibit 68, are you able to see the other end of the cord?
Yes, sir, you can.
And can you tell us where that is? Detective, I want to turn your attention right up. If you go up from the end of the cord, up a little ways.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Detective, again, could you circle where the end of the cord is there? For the record, it's in the bottom, middle of the photograph. Going from the end of the cord, tracing upwards a little bit, what is the next piece that you see there?
The next piece, and I can't recall what it's got an official term, but I can't recall it, but it's this piece right here from the end of it.
Yeah, I understand she was
Well,
just over a buck soaking wet, but
it looks like or what that piece is.
I don't know that
Still a part of the USB itself. It's a thicker part of it.
USB cord would be my first choice
And
for
is it
trying to stage something
cable
like that.
or harder plastic or something?
Doesn't
else?
seem like it would be
It's hard plastic, like the rest of the USB itself.
have a ridiculous amount of strength.
And Detective, can you describe what that harder piece of plastic is stuck through there?
It's stuck through the end of the other half of the USB that's been folded over, and it's essentially threaded through that loop.
And is what was holding that entire cord together then to maintain that position?
Just that little black circular part was the only thing completing the loop at that point.
Was there any knot that was tied with that end of the cord?
At that point of the cord right there? No, sir.
I'm just saying, USB cord would not
Right
be my
above that,
first
the top of the
choice.
photograph that we're looking at.
Not
Do you
be,
see a knot?
not be my top 10.
Yes, sir, I do.
And can you circle that for us? Was that the only knot you observed on this cord when you were on scene on September 16th?
That is correct.
Not showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 69. Can you tell the jury what it is that we're looking at here?
Well, in the foreground is a tree branch, but behind that is the rest of the USB cord as it loops over a tree branch, which is above the body at the scene.
And can you circle that just so the jury's aware of what we're talking about? And that shows the USB cable where it goes over the branch and then back down.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, State Exhibit 70. Tell us what we're looking at there.
This is two indentations that were on that same branch itself after the ligature in the body had been removed from the scene.
And when you say ligature, what do you mean?
The USB cord itself.
That branch, can you tell us what type of plant or thing that was that the cord was wrapped over?
Well, not being much of a tree guy myself, I actually reached out to the forestry division from Ohio State University and they had asked me, and this was essentially a couple weeks later, a week or two later, to take some more photographs of the tree itself, get some close-ups of the bark, if there were any berries on it, what the leaves look like, so that way I could email it to Ohio State, and then they could offer a better opinion as to what sort of plant or tree that it was.
Okay. And again, when who responded from BCI to the scene, do you recall?
I can recall, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
All right. And was that individual from BCI the one that was going to be tasked with taking more photographs and collecting the evidence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to go back now to the beginning of your investigation.
Okay.
After the case was assigned to you, what was the first thing that you ended up doing?
First thing I did is I went and pulled up the driver's license information for Matt Moore, Emily Noble, and Celeste Groen, since she was named in the initial report itself from Officer Hollis, just so I had an idea later on, one, what these people look like, try to get more of a background of these individuals involved in this report.
Did you leave the police department and go somewhere else then?
I did.
And where'd you go?
Detective Peachy and I actually traveled up to Abbey Cross Lane.
And what was the purpose of going to Abbey Cross Lane?
We were going to attempt to knock and talk with Mr. Moore's residence.
Can you describe for the jury what a knock and talk means to you?
Knock and talk is essentially what the name involves. It just involves knocking on someone's door and trying to either provide them with information or ask them questions. It's a non-custodial thing. It's more of just an investigative tool that we use.
And did you go to 46 Abbey Cross?
Yes, sir.
And when you knocked on the door, did somebody answer?
So those present at the scene was Mr. Moore, his cousin, and his father.
Did you have a recording device with you during that time?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you describe for the jury what that was?
It's just a little handheld audio recording device. It doesn't record any sort of video or anything like that. I like to do it as a backup to if I have a formal interview with someone where I can't have any audio. There are times I'll also have it essentially in my notepad itself, and there's a pocket on the front. And a lot of times I'll just stick it on there, so that way I'm not tying up one of my hands, just trying to hold a recorder the whole time. That way I have it playing.
And did you activate that audio recorder when you made contact at 46 Abbey Cross?
Yes, sir.
And did you save those recordings of your interactions with the people that were there?
Yes, sir, I did.
And Detective, if you had an opportunity to review those recordings, a true and accurate copy of your interactions at 46 Abbey Cross.
Yes, sir.
On that morning. This time, well, I'm going to mark this as State Exhibit 71. I'd ask this time to play State Exhibit 71, which is the first part of the knock and talk interview.
No, no.
Let me get this last tag. Yeah. Matthew.
Can you take a moment real quick?
May I ask you more?
Okay.
We're not supposed to.
I was actually waiting for time to chat.
Hi. Good to meet you. We shook hands. I'm over all that.
Is everyone going to sit down or stand or?
Nice to see you guys. It was cool.
Oh, okay. Good morning. How are you? Oh, yeah, I guess we can do that.
Well, we sanitize 20 times a day.
All right, I'm just here to be here. I live
So no updates whatsoever, haven't heard anything, seen anything like that? Okay, from friends?
Yes, they're contacting me Facebook and messaging.
Okay.
But she's actually been her whole life.
Yes,
She's
she knows
got
everybody.
friends on Facebook.
Okay.
Posted activity.
Detective, who's speaking at this point in the recording?
At that point, it's Matheau Moore.
Here, and good to me.
Who does she work for?
Department of Medicaid. She's an auditor. She was working at home because they shut the office down.
Right. Do you know a contact person with them? No.
He asked for one.
I did. I got mine set. I couldn't get hold of it.
Do you know anybody that she works with there, by name or phone number or anything like that?
I couldn't tell. I wasn't here. She did a lot of socializing before she worked.
Okay.
Would there be a chance you could come down to the station?
Absolutely.
Chat one-on-one, just a little later on. And would it be okay if we take her cell
Sure.
phone? Okay. Would you just like to see if there's anything there to explain?
I mean, I've been going through it, and we probably will be better at it than
Detective, did you ask to collect Emily's cell phone?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Did you ask to collect Emily's cell phone?
Yes, sir, I did.
And why did you do that, sir?
To gain more information as to what exactly we had at this point. All we know is that she is gone.
And what was the plan for what you would do with Emily's phone once obtaining it?
The plan once obtaining it is to take it back to Westerville Police Department, where I provide it to Detective Leckie for a forensic extraction.
Did Matt Moore indicate whether or not he had been on Emily's phone at that time?
He said that he had been on her phone.
He said that. I mean, if we're in the programs that can cover text message and stuff like that, so if she's left voluntarily, if she's in communication with somebody, anything like that, we want to go and find out,
She was a roamer. She was, she took off and just kind of walk around with a forager, so
Does she bite or anything like that?
not a lot. She was very small. She had everything going. She was not quite. She was quite with me when I would want to.
she's happy.
Bites here?
Yes.
So nothing is missing that you can see, can tell her like that.
I mean, enough. Her wallet, her purse, her phone, her car.
Did she have a work computer?
She did.
Do you know what that was? Did that belong to?
She doesn't have school. No. Okay, no. I don't think that it was a laptop. She would work out here during the day.
Did she ever leave without a phone or that?
Yeah, she would go for walks. Yeah, at times she would. I mean, I wouldn't know this.
Is your laptop anymore?
Detective. In response to a question about whether Emily would leave with her phone, what was the defense answer?
Yes, at times.
That recording came to an end there. Can you tell us how that happened?
Operator error. Essentially, my foolproof plan of storing my recorder in my notebook at the time, my notebook had actually hit the stop button at that point. So for a couple minutes, I was no longer recording until I'd looked down at the device itself.
And did you reactivate that recording?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did that make a separate file then, that what I'm going to mark here is States of 72?
Yes, it did.
Is it fair to say that some of the communications were from the other two people that were at the condo?
That is correct.
I'm going to ask to place Exhibit 72 and for the record starting 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the recording.
Any objection?
It was early because we started anything.
So his secret plan was interrupted by incompetence. Beautiful.
I just want to make sure, Detective. What day is this when you are at the condo originally?
This is Tuesday morning, May 26th.
So the day after law enforcement's initial response with Officer Hollis?
Yes, sir.
I get up in the middle of every night. she's the swears, and he is the kindest person, but she has no enemies. She likes to be outside, and so she'll sleep by her roll and goes open the wind blowing and stuff. And
So she's very earthy.
yes, okay. With the necklaces, and she eats, we eat for her. She feeds me. These are microgreens. She takes them. Oh, this is all her here. She goes plants.
So you said most nights you got to go to the bathroom? You thought the bathroom, she was there.
We spent some time there together at some point. We fell asleep, and I woke up, and I'm not completely positive, but when I get up, I pass and I look at the time. Because in my head, how much time I got to go for it. It was early. It was like 12:31 probably. And that's me. I need to take a ambient, half ambient. I didn't get to sleep. I was looking at my phone and text 3 or 4 friends, maybe 3 friends, just stuff. I fell asleep late. I don't know what time it was, later in the morning. Well, I slept in, so it reached 11, which is abnormal. Usually it's 6 o'clock.
Were you sleeping then after?
Yes, because I don't wake because she sleeps, not wake her up. That's the thing so what I do is I go in my this room here, there's a couch in there, and I just I'm rolling around, I'm just trying to sleep. And I eventually fell asleep, and I woke up at 11 p.m. We were invited to a party, a picnic, and I texted her at 11:50. I said, hey, we're still going to that party. And she didn't reply. So then I looked at my phone just to see if she was still here.
Yep, never talk to, around, or in the presence of police.
Eventually I got up and I came here.
Somebody else is listening.
And I saw her phone. And I told her she went for a walk. 3 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours go by. Texted her again, hey, there's no why. I texted again. That still didn't see the phone problem. Alright, thank you. Alright, thank you. And eventually got to the point where I called her best friend, Celeste. And I told her the story. Like her wallet's here, her phone's here, car. She's at all. I called her.
Question I had for her, I lost my train of thought. I'll go back to me. She doesn't have any history of any kind of mental illness, depression, anything like that?
She's just like any other girl. She gets weed. But she's not around weed. She doesn't do weeds on purpose like this.
She never had, she never gone to a doctor who's diagnosed with it.
She's on.
What's up, Frank?
Detective. Was Mr. Moore asked whether his wife had a history of any kind of depression or other mental illness?
That's correct.
And what was his response to that?
I believe it was, she's just like any other girl.
Inside? It's your sweet. Okay. Let me call you back.
Accurate. Women, am I right?
Okay. No, we're looking for it right now. I'll make it
I don't give a damn.
User of drugs, she has to look. Those pills would be like, every once in a while she'll take one, she'll take like half of one, just to be a person.
Gotcha, bitch!
She's moody, but she's not any more moody than any other girl. She wouldn't do this to make you mad. This is just not her. She
never disappeared for
no, absolutely not. She has her phone. She'll tell you where she's always on time. She's very thirsty. She's very worried. She's always, because she's so small, she's always very careful when she goes out.
Do you mind if I look at the car?
The key is on registration and video.
Look for that computer. Because if we find that it's not here, that's very telling.
That means that she took it with.
And why she get that not?
So this is hers? Is it an iPhone? Do you know what kind of question model? 11? 8?
Yeah, that's okay.
That's right. Yes, please. 3? 8 easy enough. And can you unlock and grab the serial number for me? Settings, yeah. Think about. Let's try John first. Bounce. And then, can you read off the serial number?
Do you want the model number, sir?
I'll take model.
So the model number is MQ962LL/A. Serial number is F17. BW is 0. W7 JCLY.
Detective, as you were collecting Emily Noble's phone, did you have Mr. Moore read off the serial number?
Yes, sir.
And showing State Exhibit 15. I don't expect you to remember that entire thing that was just read off to you, but does that serial number appear to be the same thing that Mr. Moore had read off?
It does.
And for the record, we're talking about the second row there, that string of letters and numbers that started with the letter F.
Yes, sir.
Oh, absolutely. They have nothing. They have no blood splatter. They have no signs of struggle. Nothing out of place in the home. No indication that she was removed from the home. Yeah, they literally have jack and shit for this case, and I think that's the most frustrating part is that there's nothing here. There is not a there at all.
Is that on purpose, or did you leave out there? Okay.
In my opinion, if there was ever a directed verdict or dismissal that we see in every case that they make it when they switch to the defense, this is the one that gets it. I don't think it does. I prefer nothing hot dog. It's just more phallic, but yeah, you got the point.
Computer. When did you leave the house? The reason I say that is because I made a text to her about 11, like almost 12, and I think I lied in bed for a little bit. So I'm thinking that's really weird, because I don't sleep that late, because I went so far into the night leaving back to sleep.
And do you think you were for a couple hours? By 12:30, when you said you got up, took half an Ambien, you said you laid there and texted some people?
I took half an Ambien at like when I woke up to take a pee, I got to fall back to sleep. That took a couple hours. Back in midnight, I think I started around like 2, and then at around 4, I'm still on the phone. So I didn't really kind of work. And eventually, around, I would say around maybe 6, I did fall asleep.
He's pulling his cock out!
And then did you go anywhere?
I wanted to be totally concrete on that.
No, I understand. And did you go anywhere yesterday, or were you just here waiting for her?
I called police, and you guys know where I'm at.
I want to make sure that we understand the timeline here. Can you walk us through roughly what the defense said was the timeline of events there?
Roughly got up to go pee about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, took half an Ambien, went into the other bedroom, laid back down, was up till approximately 4 a.m. Said that he fell asleep probably around 6 and then slept until about 11 a.m.
Counsel, before we go, could we take a mid-morning break here? I know we're going to be on for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take 10. Remember the court's admonition. Thank you.
All right, let's skip through the mid-morning break. That was a long-ass break.
Cross with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And I'm going to put up on the overhead.
Hell, we might as well get through this at this point. But we'll see.
Detective, are you familiar with Defendant's Exhibit D?
Yes, sir.
And could you mark on the map where you went with the defendant after you left the residence at Cross?
So we had left the residence and come out to County Line Road, and I drove east on County Line and then performed a U-turn, don't tell anybody, and then parked right here. I parked off the side of the road, actually onto where the sidewalk was, and from there we got out on foot.
Ha 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 ha, so funny. Papa broke rules and he's laughing about it.
You parked somewhere near where County Line Road and the bike path are?
Yes, sir.
How does the bike path and County Line Road interact in that area?
The bike path is actually raised and it goes above County Line, so there's not a issue with traffic and bicycles at the same time. So the bike path itself is well above the roadway.
After you got out of the car on foot, where did you go next?
So then it was myself, Detective Peachy, and Mathew Moore, and we walked along the south tree line right here, and then he showed us how they would walk along the western side of the tree line, just west of the bike path itself.
Did you enter the woods at any point over on that side?
At that point, no, we essentially stayed right on the tree line itself.
Where'd you go after you checked the tree line along the bike path?
We got back into the car, myself, Detective PG, and Mathew Moore, and we got back on the roadway, and then he showed us the other half of the route, so up to Ashbrook and then Maplebrook, and he showed us where they would enter the northern part of the bike path.
Did you exit your vehicle again up on the northern entrance to the bike path?
I don't think so, no.
So after you drove up to the northern entrance, what did you do next?
We then returned back to Mr. Moore's residence on Abbey Cross Lane.
Other than the cell phone, did you collect anything else from Abbey Cross at that time?
Mr. Moore identified a pair of socks that belonged to Emily and a white shirt, as well as a hairbrush of hers.
And what was the purpose of collecting those items?
In case we needed to submit them later on for DNA testing purposes.
After your interaction with the defendant, what did you do next?
So after we returned to the residence and advised them that, if anything popped up, if she returned home, anything like that, obviously to notify our department, Detective PG and I went up and attempted to knock and talk at Celeste Groden's residence.
And did you make contact with Celeste that time?
No, sir.
What did you do after attempting to speak to Celeste?
We then returned back down to the wooded area, and at this point, Detective Sergeant Alloway had arrived, and the three of us attempted to walk the bike path on foot.
Can you show the jury again, marking where you went, the three of you at that time?
So we had started on the south side down along County Line Road, and we checked this entire area up to where Maplebrook Drive is, essentially having between the three of us, we had one on the path itself, just in case there was any blood or anything like that, we want to be able to obviously retain it at that point, and then a detective along each side of the bike path, and we all moved north at the same time.
During that time when you were walking along the bike path, did you go into the woods?
Barely. The primary area that we were looking for was on that knock and talk with Mr. Moore. He said that she would primarily go no farther than 15, 20 feet in. So we basically just focused our area on that. At this point, we're assuming that there's a good chance that there's a medical emergency. She could have been laying in there and no one had seen her. So we're at this point focusing on the area that Mr. Moore said that she would like to forage.
Can you describe generally what the woods are like there just off to the west of the bike path?
It's fairly level and fairly open. You have obviously a lot of trees, as you can tell by the photograph, but they're generally much higher than eye level or anything else like that. So it's a lot more wide open at that point.
Are you able to see some distance into the woods on that side from the tree line?
Yes, sir.
After you, the three of you searched that bike path, what did you do next?
We then returned back to the Detective Bureau and continue our investigation.
Detective, during that time, on the 26th, were you aware of other investigation going on?
Like another separate investigation?
Other investigation related to the disappearance of Emily Noble.
So other aspects of this case itself?
Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
Had you enlisted the help of other detectives to help do some of those things?
Yes, sir.
And can you give us an idea generally of the types of things that were being done?
Plain and simple.
We
I think
had,
this one only
detective
requires
looking
two options for the
online for
poll.
social media activity, anything
Guilty,
that could
not
potentially be out of the
guilty.
ordinary. Had another
Meaning
detective
state
go to
proved
the
their
three
case
restaurants
or
uptown
state hasn't
and
proved yet.
Try to talk with them, see if there was any video, anything out of the ordinary with any of the servers. At this point, anything that we could have to potentially go on.
Did you participate in any of
Yes.
the canine searches that we heard testimony about yesterday?
So yes, at approximately 11:30, so this is still on the 26th, myself, Detective Peachy, Detective Sergeant Alloway, and later on we had a uniformed officer, Peachy, husband and wife duo, so I'm going to have to differentiate detective to officer. To have a uniformed presence, we did return to Mathew Moore's residence.
And what did you do at that time?
Made contact with him. He did grant permission for the attic and the garage to be checked. And ultimately, Detective Sergeant Alloway had requested a bloodhound to respond to the scene.
And were you present when the bloodhound was deployed?
I was present when it was deployed, but I did not walk along with it.
I want to turn your attention then to the next day, May 27th.
Yes, sir.
Did you have contact from the defendant that morning?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you tell us what that was related to?
He had notified me that he had received some threatening messages that essentially claiming that they had kidnapped Emily and they were holding her for ransom at this point.
When he called you and told you about the threatening message, what was your response?
I asked him to email me the screenshots just so that I could see it for it myself, since he had told me over the phone what was happening. I was not present with him at the time.
And did he send you the screenshots?
Yes, he did.
Approach the witness. And he wasn't marked as State Exhibit 73. Can you take a look that over?
Okay.
Detective, you recognize that document?
I do.
And generally speaking, what is it?
The screenshot that Mathew Moore was notifying me about.
This time, that's the published Exhibit 73 of the jury.
Any objection? Go ahead.
Detective, I'm showing you State Exhibit 73. Can you tell us, now the jury can see it, tell us what it is we're looking at here?
These are some of the messages that Mathew Moore had received in regards to Emily being sick, and they were holding her for ransom unless they received $7,000.
After this screenshot was sent to you, what did you do?
I asked him if he could come in and provide his cell phone so that we could...
Wait, what the hell? It's the first time I've heard of this. I told you I have Emily, but you decided not to say anything about it. Take it serious. Now she's sick and wants to talk to her husband over the phone. This is fucking important. I'm not releasing her till I have a ransom of $7,000. She's sick right now and wants to talk to you. Answer me right now. This is important. She wants to talk to her family over the phone. Listen, you have to talk to me right now. Your daughter's sick. Talk to me right now. There's no time. She's sick. That's weird. That's an odd text message.
Provide essentially forensic analysis to see what exactly we were looking at this point.
Giant pole.
And what was his response to your request for him to bring you his cell phone?
He advised that he was going to take a shower and he'd be in the police station in probably about 45 minutes.
Did he come in 45 minutes later?
No, but he did call.
And what happened that phone call?
He advised me that it was probably just a prank and he wouldn't be coming in to provide his cell phone to me because he was going to need it that day.
It's not really a prank, though. That's odd. That's what that is.
Was there other investigative steps being prepared for May 27th?
Yes.
No, I agree.
Tell us generally what those were.
Detective Lechty was working on obtaining a search warrant. There was a search warrant for the residence of 46 Abbey Cross, as well as a search warrant for any electronic devices in Mr. Moore's possession.
And what was the purpose of a search warrant for 46 Abbey Cross?
My bad.
Purpose of that portion of the search warrant?
To see if there was any forensic evidence on Mathew Moore's cell phone that could provide us with this, furthering this investigation.
Did you proceed to the condo with the search warrant?
Yes, sir.
And what was your role going to be in that?
My role primarily, since I'd had the most contact with Mathew Moore at that point, was to make contact with him, obtain the cell phone, and then ask him to come back to the station voluntarily for an interview.
If I wasn't honest with you guys, then I don't know how I'd feel about myself. I was trying to cancel out of the football game that I was watching on the other screen and fucked up and clicked the wrong button and canceled this instead. So, Las Vegas won 17-13. over the Packers.
Did you speak to Mr. Moore at that time?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did he agree to come down to the police department to speak to you?
Yes, he did.
Where at the police department did you speak to Mr. Moore?
We spoke to him in one of the interview rooms.
And are the interview room equipped with a video camera?
Yes, it is.
And does it record both video and audio?
Yes, it does.
Sav says. No, I've never heard of that.
Detective, who was present for the interview with Mr. Moore?
Initially, it was just myself and Mr. Moore.
And did anyone else join you during that time?
Later on, I was joined by Detective Peachy.
Before we put up on the overhead, let me pull this up here. Detective, I'm going to 74. Detective, are you able to see on the screen in front of you, stays at a 74?
No.
Oh, hold on. That was a test. You
I
passed.
thought it was a trick question, sir.
Now, can you see he stays at a 74?
Much better, yes, sir.
All right. Before we play that, can you tell us what it is you're looking at there in States Exhibit 74?
So this is from one of our overhead cameras in the interview room, and that's Mr. Moore sitting in one of the chairs.
And does it indicate a date of when this is being recorded?
It does.
And what is that date, sir?
May 27th, 2020 at 4:47:02 p.m.
And is the States Exhibit 74 a true and accurate copy of the video recording of your interview with the defendant on May 27th?
Yes, it is.
All right. At this time, I would now ask to publish the first portion of States Exhibit 74 to the jury.
No objection, Your Honor.
Now, like I told you, when we were out there, said you were not under arrest. You weren't handcuffed coming in, is that correct? Correct. And that door has a lock. This is a voluntary interview. Okay. Obviously, we need to do the best we can to get the full story. We can find your wife and you can get back to normal. Obviously, part of that involves talking with you. So, again, this is a voluntary thing. Like I told you out there, I haven't lied to you, I'm not going to start now.
We could have done it from my house.
No, this part we can't do.
Because it's not voluntary.
No, it's completely voluntary.
And I could leave.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm just.
Yeah, you try that door right now.
At some point, could we, like, I want to help you. I want to get this going because I didn't do it. And
Huh.
I want you to find whatever.
No, I'll check it out for sure.
I want it to happen. But just
Savage does live reports for protests, does news commentary.
As you began that discussion with Mr. Moore, anything stand out to you about your initial interaction with him?
Yes, he stated he didn't do it.
Did you accuse him of doing anything in particular at that time?
No, sir. All I was doing was going over the fact that it was a voluntary interview when he made that statement.
move it a little hard for me if we could sometime if
I respect that.
like
We can take
on
it.
the hallway or something. You know.
Okay. So
go do your thing.
And
I'm an open book.
I don't mean to insult you.
No.
But you can read English, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have to ask that because I've had people before that
I can read.
when I go over rights waivers later on they magically can't read English.
I can read.
So again, I don't mean to insult you. So it says before we ask any questions, you must understand your rights. You understand that part?
Yes.
You have the right to remain silent. This is a lot. That's weird.
These are my Miranda warnings.
Yeah.
So I'm being arrested.
You're not being arrested.
So why am I being read about Miranda warnings?
Because it's the standard protocol that I do, just to make sure that we are on the same page with everything. You know, I told you honesty. Be fully aware of everything. I told you not being arrested. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You understand that? You have the right to talk to a lawyer before we ask you any questions, and to have a lawyer with you during a question. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning, if you wish. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you still have the right to stop answering at any time. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer.
Seems fair.
Understand that part?
It seems like a right that's in the Constitution or something, so I'm fully on board with it.
Good. And I, Matthew,
Matheau Moore. M-O-R-E.
I've read the statement of my rights, and I understand what my rights are. No promises or threats have been made to me. Is that fair and accurate? I'll give you that pen so we can both write at the same time.
Today is
The 27th.
5/27/20. Time is
The time is 4:51. Put my info down.
Detective, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 75.
It's so hard to watch. So hard to watch when people just incriminate the shit out of themselves. And yeah, I agree, the beard was not a good look.
Miranda rights waiver.
I'm
that
glad
was
he got rid of it.
Mr. Moore with his signature on it.
Is it a true and accurate copy of the document that Mr. Moore signed before your interview on May 27th?
Yes, it is.
That's the post to the jury?
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
Detective, I'm not showing you what's Exhibit 75. Did you read that language at the top of the form directly to Mr. Moore?
Yes, sir.
And whose signature appears under the waiver of rights next to the word sign?
That's Mathew Moore's signature.
Now, for the record, resuming Exhibit 74.
So, now when you call to report Emily,
Hey, Scad, no worries.
Officer Hollis is the one who came.
But watching that SpaceX flight, they scrubbed it again tonight, which is weird. Something's going on more than upper level winds, but that's still their official
Did you
word.
have any provide any sort
The
of-
one out of Vandenberg went, so
I'm gonna
they're evaluating the next launch
Did he have
opportunity for
any sort of
Falcon
written
9.
statement as to what had happened?
So they still don't even have a date on it. It's just an evaluation. So it's got to be a vehicle issue.
For you, and I will leave and give you peace. If you want to stay in here, I can stay in
Would
here.
have to be.
It's up to you.
So I'll keep an eye on it.
And I'll be completely quiet, but I just need a statement from you. You have to, starting from, when you went to bed on Sunday evening.
My beard makes me a distinguished gentleman.
That's whatever time it was. And I understand that you talked about it and everything else like that. However, it's just a procedural thing that needs to happen. And honestly, I told you, I like honesty. I'm not happy that Officer Hollis didn't get that on Monday.
It's probably fresher in my mind then. I've gone through this in my head with the timeline, and some of my times don't line up. I made a phone call when I thought I was sleeping.
Okay.
So, I try my best, but I don't want to make
But
any faults.
you're human, right?
I go straight through SpaceX.
All I want is your best.
So SpaceX posts all their stuff not terribly far in advance, but I do that for SpaceX's, and then just kind of hear about the other ones.
Yeah, man. I mean, just know that the times are going to be, might be wrong.
It is very windy there tonight.
Maybe.
I just don't want to blatant lie.
So there's SpaceX.
Something like that. If you say this happened at 4:51, and I'm like, oh no, that's bullshit. It was 4:55.
No,
You
it
lied.
could be an hour off. I mean, it was night. It was just like any other night. It wasn't.
Right.
So I'm not like checking my time.
Right.
We can't do 1.75.
We drank. We came home. We hung out.
I guess 1.5's not terrible though. We could try
I don't
it.
go back in the bedroom because I don't want to wake her up. I sleep in my son's room, who doesn't live there, on the couch, and I slept. I made texts, and I talked to people during that period.
Okay.
And it's on the phone.
Just the best in your own words.
But I can't tell you, hey, I made texts at 5, at 3, you know what I mean? I can't. I won't write down times, but I'll just kind of give you a brief, like a story without times, because I think.
But just any instance that you can recall. Like I'm not so time focused right now. It's just the fact that I want to be able to make sure I have everything sequentially. From how I understand it, I want to make sure that I can pick it up and go, oh yeah, that's right. That when he woke up, he then moved the refrigerator on the roof. Whatever it may be. I want to make sure that sequentially I understand.
Can you help me write it? Because I can't spell for one, feel horrible. Or like just kind of help me.
But if you need help with the word, I can help you spell it, absolutely. And I'm not here to judge
Not
Scott.
the day.
Just from when you went to bed, that Sunday night.
So you don't want to know what we were prior to.
He does look completely different person from the bearded pictures and the other pictures. Like he looks completely different from the person that's in court today and the person that's sitting there 2 years ago.
Your handwriting actually much more pleasant than some other ones that I've seen.
Wait, you were asleep? Or you mean his testimony being asleep?
And I really want you to take your time to make sure that we're all on the same page.
We got home from being in Uptown. We talked. It was her birthday. We talked. We went to bed. Together. Do I say we had sex or?
Any details like that? I mean, we're all adults.
Made love, I guess. It was her birthday. Fell asleep.
We smashed.
I fell asleep.
We
I'm not sure
smashed.
she did. She might stay up. I'm not sure, but I passed out. Woke up. Went up to pee, to urinate. I did look at the clock. I don't want to say that I knew what time it was, but whenever I wake up to go to the bathroom, I look at the clock to see how close it is to the morning, and that determines whether I take a sleeping pill or not, which is, I don't know the name of it, I think I have one, and it was earlier, so I'm going to say, I don't want to tell straight, I mean like 1 maybe, which is early, and I woke up to urinate, went to my son's room, to sleep on couch. Couch is C-O-U-C-H. Spent time looking through T-R-O-U-G-H phone. Made a few text messages. M-E-S-S-A-G-E-S. Maybe a few text messages. I might have posted on Facebook. I don't know. I'm going to say I did if I didn't look. I might have posted on Facebook. I texted my stepfather. He texted back. I think it was 3. I think he got back to me at 8. from what I saw today, I actually texted back to him at 8, so I might have been awake later than I thought. But at some point, late morning, late morning, late night, early morning, or, you know, like 8, 7, 6, 7, whatever, that's late night, late early morning. It's at some point.
Was it sun up?
I couldn't tell you. At some point, I'm going to say it was starting to be dawn because there's a reason for that. Because usually I do fall back asleep before it gets light out, and then I usually wake up at like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? I didn't wake up till like past 11, I think, which is really late. I could have woke up 2 times in between and at some point fell back asleep. Because I think I did at some point at mid-morning make a text to somebody. I'm not sure. I don't know if I should put that down.
Yeah.
I might have made a mid-morning text. I remember awaking. The text says the time was like almost 12. I could have woke up at 11, just lied back a little bit. Waking towards how T-W-O-R-D?
T-O-W-A-R-D-S.
T-O-W-A-R-D-S. Towards noon, I text Emily to see if we were going to a Northway, I spell that,
O-R-I-A-L.
M-A-O?
M-E-M.
M-E-M.
O-R-I-A-L.
I-A-L. Day picnic. I don't know the guy's name, I got it written down 2 minutes ago. I'm sure you guys already know it. Picnic. She didn't respond. I'm not 100% sure, but I checked my Find phone app, and it said that she was there.
How long after you sent the text were you, if you had a ballpark?
I don't know.
More than an hour?
No, it was probably within like
5, 10 minutes?
I'm gonna guess. I don't know, but I do know that I looked just to see if she was still in the house, because, you know, it was later. I thought maybe she could have left, you know, early, you know, because she didn't come in and wake me up, which is not why she does that. I mean, you're supposed to go. She didn't respond. At some point I checked my Find phone, and it was still there. I don't know how much longer I lied in bed, but I know I made another text to her at around 3, and said, well, I guess we're not going. And I'd already been up in the house, so I didn't know her phone was on. I hadn't seen her phone by then, I don't think. Or I would have texted. I would have been there. I don't know how to word that. She didn't respond. I re-texted. I got up, looked through the house. I checked for her car, which was there. Which was there. Went back to my son's room. Lied on the couch. Flipping through the phone. I don't know if I made any text messages or not. I have to look. Some point in the afternoon, I noticed her phone, I noticed her wallet.
Okay. Where was that?
Her phone was next to her bed, her wallet was, I don't remember. Her car, I came before. All of a sudden, just at some point in the afternoon, I realized that there was something wrong. That everything's, all their stuff was there and she was gone and she hadn't come back. I realized R-E-A-L-I-Z-E-B. Celeste. Celeste, we talked. She said, call her Celeste. You guys should. Got home from being in uptown, we talked, we went to bed together, made love, fell asleep, woke up to urinate, went to my son's room to sleep on the couch. Spent time looking at the phone, made a few text messages, might have passed Facebook at some point. At some point, I fell back to sleep, I might have made a mid-morning text. I remember waking towards noon, text on me to see if we were going to the Memorial Day picnic. She didn't respond. I got up, looked through the house, I checked for her car, which was there, went back to my son's room, only because I didn't think that anything was at that point wrong. She walks around, she does think she's not there at that point. To the house, I checked for her car, which was there. I went back to my son's room, lighted in front of the house, flipping through the phone. At some point in the afternoon, I realized there was something wrong. I called her friend Celeste. We talked. She said to call the police. When I saw her phone, at some point, when I saw her phone, it was probably the last thing I really was like, she's not right. Because the phone is pretty much your thing. I mean,
Can I read over it? Sure. You got your handwriting. I'll show you.
I didn't do anything in school.
No, you don't. Your handwriting's off.
You know what stinks is when you make really bad spelling mistakes. I mean,
In fact, if I'm going to approach the ambulance March 6th at 76, so they want to put that over. Do you recognize the document, sir?
I do.
And generally speaking, can you tell the jury what it is?
It's a copy of the witness statement that Mr. Moore just completed.
And it's a true and accurate copy of the statement that Mr. Moore filled out on May 27th.
Yes, it is.
This time, that's published to the jury.
No objection, Your Honor.
Detective, starting in the top left corner there, can you tell us whose handwriting that is and the location, date, time, and incident number?
That is my handwriting.
And then just to the right of that, can you tell us whose handwriting is in name, address, phone, date of birth, and occupation?
That is Mathew Moore's handwriting.
And what did Mr. Moore list as his occupation?
He's an unemployed casino dealer.
Underneath that, is that continue to be Mr. Moore's handwriting?
Yes, it does.
And is that the statement that he wrote out as we just watched?
He was
the video?
apparently writing his statement,
Yes, it is.
which we're seeing now.
What is the purpose of the line that
Yeah,
goes after text?
law
Just to show that that
enforcement
was the end of
is
the statement.
tricky
Nothing else was added on
and shady.
later on after the fact. That was the true ending of what he had written.
And then finally, all the way down here at the bottom of State 76, what are we looking at there?
That is Mathew Moore's signature.
Yeah.
Now
A
resuming,
lot of people
my
fall for
State
it.
Exhibit 74.
Don't talk to police.
Well, so yeah, we're not spelling police. I could introduce some of my coworkers and your head was there. After being in uptown, we talked. So you don't remember what time you came back from uptown?
Mhm.
we came directly
Usually.
from, I think our last bar was the, not the Hook Center, was that other old school?
No, you're not a bad person. You're here, so you can't be a bad person.
We got fish fry. And we thought-
If you didn't show up, then you would be a bad person. Also, if you didn't hit the like button like everybody should,
We walked across the street.
that also makes you a bad person.
And was the sun still out when you got home?
I'm guessing that probably was, but I don't know.
Were you intoxicated when you
Yeah,
heard about
I
it?
mean, yeah,
I appreciate the honesty. We will done. So
we
then,
weren't stumbling around, but we were.
if you had to approximate that time?
8, 9, we went to my father's, we gardened, you have to check with him, but I think we left there around 4 or 5. We got there at noon, we usually gardened for about 4 hours, it was hot. He had friends over. We went home, we washed up, and we went right, we didn't get showers, we just kind of washed up, because we were pretty dirty. We went for, so I mean, we were there early.
Okay.
So, I mean, we wouldn't make, it's not gonna be like, you know, 12 for a month, it's early, it's like 9, 10, no later, it couldn't be earlier than that.
So you think 8, 9-ish?
Yeah, probably, 8, 9, 10, probably.
All right. So you get home, you hang out, you drink more, huh? You guys were.
She had beers in the fridge, and I don't even there's beer at my house. I don't cook. That's all it was in there. I don't get beers. I do. I wouldn't get home at 12 o'clock. So I sit back on the rocks, and I didn't have any. Usually when I get home after drinking, I don't. That's the thing. She'll continue to drink sometimes. But
Did she keep drinking? But you did not?
No.
Okay. And you guys hung out and talked?
We hung out in the kitchen, and we got really along really super well. It was her birthday. We started making out, and we went to the bedroom, and we had sex.
Okay. And that's in. So there's like a master bedroom, just to make sure that
The master bedroom.
And then there's the what you call the man cave.
That would be my son.
Is that Joey's room?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to make sure that separating, right? So you went into your bedroom and had sex.
I went into the master bedroom with my wife, and that's where she likes. Sometimes she sleeps on the porch, on the ground. She likes to be outside. I don't know if she went in there like at some point. As far as I know, I fell asleep. I woke up because I had to pee. She was there, and I would know if she wasn't. I would just, you know, if you were sitting out there. I didn't have anything that she wasn't there. I remember looking at the clock because I like to time when I have how much time I have left to sleep. So whether I take a pill, fall asleep or not, I don't know if I did or not. I might have been drunk enough to go home, and I went into Joe's room. But on the couch, it's something that happens every night. I don't think there's a night that goes by that I sleep all the way through and make sure that I always have to get up cold because I'm pressed up. And I do remember it. Usually, it's pretty much I fall asleep an hour. This one, I was lying in bed for quite a bit, and I made a couple texts, and I had it on my phone. Actually, I looked at my phone today, and I think I don't know how it works, but it was 8 o'clock phone call. I could have fell asleep and woke up at 8, and then fell back asleep. The next thing you know, I slept into the day, which is very unusual, at like 11, because the first thing I did was text her and be like, are we still going to that party? And that was, I think, towards 12.
So you got to go pee, and the routine is after you pee, then you don't climb back into bed with her.
Right. I don't.
And the routine is that you look at the clock to see if you should take a sleeping pill or not.
How much time I have left before, you know, if it's like real late into the night, I won't take one and stuff. But it's early. But I don't know. It was early, but I don't know if I took one or not.
Do you know what type of medicine?
It's like a hand, but it's some other derivative, and I take half of it.
Okay, all right.
And they definitely.
But you don't remember that night you took
I don't remember. And I probably not, because I was up making phone calls, or not phone calls, but texting.
Who's up at that time?
You'd have to check. I have a friend in Vegas, so he would be, and he's up there. So it's 3 to 12 out there. I'm not sure. You'll have to check.
You don't remember who you texted?
I remember texting my stepfather, and that was the one that was at 8, and he's at 8 our time in the East Coast. So
8 a.m. you texted?
After midnight. That's right.
So was it after midnight, or was it 8 a.m. that you texted?
8. No, it was that night. That early morning, 8 o'clock a.m.
Our time?
Yes, he's looking at
Okay, but what about like at 1 or 2 or whatever time it was?
I made a post at like 3 in the morning, and I think it was my brother, Paul. And,
like a Facebook post?
On iMessenger. You'll have to check. I don't want to lie. I don't want to say, you know what I mean? But I think it was something funny about the MMA fighter guy, the guy who runs the UFC, that's having some sort of stuff that's off the shore. He's doing distancing.
So was this a social media post or like a text message?
It was iMessenger is like a messenger that other people can see. It's just go messenger.
So that you sent it iPhone by iPhone? Yeah. And this was at like 3 in the morning?
I think it was at 3.
This was stepmother?
Half brother. All lives in Florida.
Half brother.
And I'm fairly, I've been kind of doing my thing, trying to figure out the timeline and stuff, and I'm pretty sure. I think there's one more in there too that I sent out that I don't know if anybody responded to, or if I sent it out, I'm not sure. You have to look.
And you haven't gone back to look to see?
I did. I'm nervous right now. I'm not really sure. I don't think they responded to it, so I'm not sure. I have 5 friends that I do kind of like just goof around and text each other.
So did you text with 1 friend or 5 friends?
I didn't text 5 friends. I remember texting, I believe it was my brother, about the being a white issue, and I remember texting my stepfather about the water bottles. He collects spring water. He drinks spring water, and we just started doing that. We go that day. We went down and got spring water, and I was talking about how the shelf life of water.
Did you texted him that night too?
That early morning.
Yeah, the 3-ish or
Monday early morning.
Yes.
No, it wasn't 3. It was I said it was more like
anytime from midnight to 3-ish.
When we see the times, he might have responded at 8 o'clock, and I texted him at 3. I would have some phone to text. But there was definitely correspondence going on while I'm trying to fall asleep at night.
Any social media posts?
You'd have to check. I don't think so. I don't think so. But at some point in the morning, I fell back asleep. I did go back to sleep, and I didn't wake up until late into the morning. And the first thing I did was, because I knew we had to go to this, we'd been invited to the party, I said, hey, we still want the party, and she didn't respond.
And where was that party?
I don't know him. She just barely knows him down there. I talked to him, actually, because I gave him, they were like, who's this guy? And I found out who he was, and they called him. And I texted him, and I asked him, maybe she went over there.
You texted out on your phone?
I'm not sure. No, it was hers, because it was through her. It was her. I wouldn't have it. I don't even know this guy. And I asked him, hey, family over there. Maybe she went over there without me. Maybe I slept too late. She said, no, whatever, I'm not going to get him up. I'm just going to go without him. And he said he had her on that.
No, what time is that?
11, 12, maybe close to 12.
You texted him?
I don't know. Maybe a couple hours after that, or I would hate to not say. I don't know.
So then, in your words, you got up like around 11-ish?
Was it closer to 12? If I remember correctly. And I got up and I walked around and she wasn't there, and I'm like, okay, she's out doing her thing. And I went back to the couch. She was kind of there, down lower from the 9th floor. And then the next thing I did was text her again at, I think 3. It was like 3 hours later. And I'm like, I guess we're not going to the party. Where are you? I didn't ask her that. I guess we're not going to the party. And that was the last thing I texted her. Got up again. And then I looked, there's her car. there's her purse, there's her phone, things started, this isn't right.
Where was her phone when you found it?
On her end table.
Is that normally where it
Yes, well, no, I mean, yes, sometimes. If she's lying there, that's where it is.
is? Does she generally sleep in the bed?
Like I said, sometimes she sleeps on the floor. She's just been recently doing that.
Well, what I'm saying is when she sleeps in bed, is her phone on the end table next to the bed?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
And then when she sleeps on the floor, where does she put it?
yeah, the phone's with her.
Okay.
Does
she always have her phone with her?
She always has her phone with her. And the only time she doesn't, and I said this when the first guy came over, she goes out with these foraged things, and she does this route, and he was like, does she ever go out at night, by herself? And I'm like, no. She doesn't mind that. That's something, but she does. At times, now that I think of it, especially if she's got a buzz and she's drinking, she'll grab a flashlight, and she'll go on as she comes back with the torch, and she shows me.
So between 11 and 3, what were you doing? Were you just laying there on the couch?
11 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, it was lying in the sun. Kind of just chilling, recovering, waiting for her.
Did you ever go to the bathroom at any point?
I don't. Yeah, there was periods where, I mean, I definitely got up.
Did you know she was gone?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The first time when I texted her and said, are we going to this party? And she didn't get back to me, I checked the Find My phone, and the phone said that she was there. So I'm like, okay, I mean, at some point that happened. So it just didn't, okay, she's doing her thing, she's gonna come and get me when we're ready to go, or whatever. At some point, it didn't happen, she didn't come in and get me. I got up, went out there, I don't know, between 11 and 3 at some point. It still wasn't a big concern. I wasn't like, freaked out. I kind of went around a little bit, and the first thing I did was look to see if her car was there, because she got the call. That would have made sense. She left. Her car was there, so well, okay, she's doing something. She's just out and about. I texted her again at 3. I'm pretty sure that's the time you guys can check the.
And in between those 2 times, you texted the gentleman in.
No, I didn't get concerned until the second time I texted her and said, hey, I guess we're not going.
You texted him after
3, 3:40, then 3:50. Then after that text, that's when I got mad. So I didn't even know her phone was still there until, because I texted it. So her sister made a group text that I didn't notice. And her sister says it was at 3:45. She says she responded to it.
At 3:45 p.m. on Monday?
Yes. Let me think. I'm getting screwed up. I'm getting this screwed up. Maybe it was 8:45 in the morning. That's what it was. It was 8, so while I'm sleeping.
So her sister, what's her sister?
Her sister named Amy.
Okay. She said group text at 8:45 then?
To her and I, and from that you can tell whether someone views it. And she said that we both viewed it at some point. I don't know when I did. She said that, I don't know if you can tell when they viewed, but it was viewed. And I wasn't viewed with the phone. So to me, she was there at 8:45 or 8 in the morning. Emily was there. That's my. And the guy across the street, John, said that he saw her at 10 or 10:30.
No, that's incorrect. John says back there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what we, and he really said like 8 to 9, and then he's now saying I can't
swear to it. And
8 to 9 for Sunday.
So that makes it look bad for me.
Well, it just makes it great. I mean, not just, we're not going to put.
You guys want to look at anything in my body, you want to look at anything at all, I'm here.
Well, that's just fine.
I hope you guys know that I love my wife, and I would never hurt her.
That's kind of where I was going to go next, because we kind of beat this timeline down pretty good. So, you guys got married 2 years ago?
We got married August 28, 2018. You don't remember, right?
8/28/20. Okay.
And I had a son.
Can you tissues make that? Drink water? Okay. We know that. We don't need to. We don't want to grab that memory, so let's try and focus on. Okay, cloud.
Oh, schizophrenia is the worst thing they got to make. I don't know where to go now. What do you want to know?
So, what years did you live out in Vegas?
I did 25 years out there. 92, 84. And I left to come out here to get my son. He was having trouble in school. And not trouble, just couldn't learn very well out there and didn't have special education out there. My dad said, come on out here and live with me. We'll enroll in Worthington. They have a special course for kids and they're doing well. And so I moved out here, and that's when I was out here. I don't know what year that was. I'm guessing that was just 2 years ago. He was a freshman in high school, so he would have graduated this year, so 4 years ago. He was in 9th grade. And Emily and I met via the internet, and we started dating. And it lasted like a year. My son didn't make it in school, he was home too, and I ended up having to move out of the house in my dad's house, living with my dad. And I ended up in a place I could afford because I was working at a casino here in town, which is a real crappy casino. I can only afford it. Yeah, I was making really good money out there. And so I moved to the continent, and I just wasn't making enough money. So and Emily and I weren't like living together type relationship. So I took got sick, and I'd still been in contact with Emily, and I'm like, Joey's sick. I was sick, he's got, and I don't have insurance because I quit my job and when I moved back to Vegas. They didn't give me insurance. It was a long process because I don't care, so I didn't have any insurance to take care of my kid that had caught schizophrenia. We didn't know it was schizophrenia, but he was sick. And she said, come on back here and marry me. Come on back here and marry me, we'll get him in Westville. So I moved back probably in July. We got married in August, we pulled in school. And that's how things went, and things were really, really super great.
And things were great with you and him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just live my life.
Now, we don't have too much people their lives. You and I have both been married once before divorce, okay? We all know how marriages are, so there's ups and downs. What were the downs?
I lost my sex drive after my kid died, sort of, and everything she had. So there was never any, she really was really great with the house. She was really meticulous, and I liked it. She reminded me of my mother when I came to take care of home, and so she would tell me to wash this and do that, and I really liked it. And it was, we would bicker about.
For the record, stop recording at 42 minutes, 58 seconds. Yeah, I see it's now noon. This witness is going to continue for many hours. I think probably a good place to break for lunch if that works very well.
If that works for you, that's fine. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our midday break at this point. Let's come back at 1 p.m.
All right, so that is the first half of day 3. They're broken into halves for whatever reasons. So, yeah, state hasn't proved anything at all. I don't know. I personally, I don't think he did anything. Again, so it's hard to say. Well, I can end the poll. Yeah. It's hard to really plant your flag either way. The only thing I know for sure is that the state hasn't proved anything at all. Both she and he were surrounded by people who self-deleted. Ex and her son died fairly close. Yeah. So the dude definitely had PTSD. I think he's good-hearted, and he was just trying to have a conversation with the police, and the police took advantage of it and ultimately charged him with murder. That's why even if you have good intentions, and even if you think the cops are the good guys, which I more often think that they are over they're not, it's still never a good idea to give them any information whatsoever. Let them figure it out by themselves, even if you are completely innocent. So, because you don't know what you're giving them, and they're trained to be able to spin it and make it whatever they want it to be. Which is kind of a shitty way of doing it. If they would just be decent about it, then it would be different. But that's not the way they see it. So, this has been a really interesting case in the fact that I still don't think they have anything whatsoever. Not a single thing. And probably shouldn't have ever charged this guy, if we're being honest. From at least what we've seen now. And the state's case is about to wrap up, so I'll give you a brief synopsis. So what we know so far is that Mathew was in the home. His wife was disappeared. She several months later was found dead. They immediately blamed him. They blamed him from the minute he reported her missing, and you can see it in that first video we did about 4 weeks ago. And yeah, they blamed him from the beginning, which I thought was pretty terrible, honestly. And he's been fighting it ever since, and he's been nothing but cooperative and decent to him, and they don't seem to really care. They just keep sticking it to him. So they have not been friendly to him in any stretch of the imagination. So But with that being said, I don't think the state's proved anything at all. Yeah, Big Boy Cop, the first cop, was horrifically terrible. Like he had it out for him from the beginning, from the first day. When he was called, he reported his wife missing, and as soon as he reported it, they were already on him and already had accused and were pretty certain that it was going to be him that murdered his wife. So that's kind of where we're at. The state has proved nothing at all, in my opinion. Nothing. So that's frustrating. But we have more time. It could change. Things change. But I don't think the state has brought a single shred of evidence. So, never talk to police without an attorney. I'm calling my 22-year-old daughter. Yes. Never talk to the police without an attorney. Ever. For any reason. Even if you've done nothing wrong, if they have the preconceived notion that it's you, they're going to find whatever evidence they need to connect and charge you with it. And they'll threaten you, and they'll try and push you into it. You just have to stay strong and say, I want an attorney, that you're right, and you can request it at any time, and they shouldn't have anything to say about it. It should just be a given. We know they like to coax and coerce you into answering questions without your attorney, but you say simply, I need to speak to my attorney, and then you stop saying anything. No matter what they say to you, don't say another word to them. And that is advice. And I think that's important advice. So, but with that, that's going to be it for me this evening. We'll pick it up again next week. Scat, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil the outcome. So, we'll get there eventually. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We'll see what comes of it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be it for me this evening. Tomorrow, we are going to be learning how to build a nuclear warhead, both a fission and a fusion bomb with kind of a hands-on demonstration. So I have some materials, not actual real materials, but materials that can simulate making a nuclear bomb. And it should be fun and couldn't be more relevant given what's going on in the world right now, right? So that's going to be about it for me. So thank you all for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe on the way out. Did they look for another suspect? Not even remotely. Not even a little bit. It was Matt, and all Matt from start to finish. They had no care or interest in any other suspect or any other theory of the case in any ways. So, that's the other thing. If you stick around and watch the trials long enough, the defendant's been in my chat every night but this evening. So take that for what it's worth. But he's a good guy. I've spoken with him. So yeah, I think he got railroaded, but that's going to be it. I hope everyone has an awesome night, and I will catch you guys all very soon. Take care, everybody. Where's my outro? Good night.